the NBA Draft 2017 presented by State Farm, and also the site for what could be one of the more memorable drafts that we've had in the history of the NBA when you consider the trades, the rumblings of big players on the move, including some in the hometown, and these draftees changing the fortunes of franchises across the board. They'll pack in, they'll be excited, the energy will be hot, and that's just here on set. We expect it'll be good behind us as well. Welcome to our coverage here on NBA TV. Casey Stern, the law firm of Smith and Davis. We got Kenny the Jet, Smitty, and Set down on the end. Guys, the energy in the building is going to get pretty pumped up. What are you looking forward to most, Kenny, in this draft?
Well, probably the one thing that I'm looking forward to most is just the reaction. You know, this is a life-changing experience. There's never again in your basketball career you'll have this anxiety, because when you were picking a college, you controlled that. When you become a free agent, you control that. This is the first time that you have no control of where you're going, and the anxiety will never be matched ever again in your life. So that's what I'm looking forward to seeing these young men explore this new opportunity and be part of this new culture.
You know, Smitty, there's also so much pressure on these franchises. Just 2 years ago, and we'll get into it a bit with Porzingis, you think of guys, we all decide who is going to be the next great player and who's going to be the next Koncak or Odin or somebody else. A lot of pressure on these organizations.
There's nothing wrong with Koncak. Don't throw him in there.
Saying.
Why you throwing Koncak in there like that?
Come on,
I played with Koncak.
Too soon, bro.
Yeah,
Too soon for Koncak.
You know, for me,
Shaq told me to get that in there, so I got it.
I'm looking at this as we find out which organizations are trying to win right now. And you start to look at who they pick, who they're trading. That's for me to see which organizations are for real going forward and their plan, what they're trying to do by their picks and who they trade tonight.
Seth, these kids are all talking about the nerves. They wait to get here. We're going to see a couple of four-year standouts, but again, another year where a lot of kids who are one and done are going to get their opportunity to get to the big show.
Yeah, the big number tonight is 19. That's the age of most of the top 15 picks. And, you know, if you look at all these so-called mock drafts around the internet, they seem to be pretty settled. And it feels like it's a night where we're not going to have a lot of surprises, which means I think we are going to have a lot of surprises. And the reality is, of these players picked tonight are going to have an impact on an NBA team this coming season. Look at this past year. Outside of maybe Malcolm Brogdon, you didn't have a lot of first-year guys.
The 60th pick.
There you go. and a lot more of these first-rounders spent time in the D-League than had an impact on their NBA team. So when you're going to pick a 19-year-old kid in the top 15, that's what you have to expect. They're long-term picks as opposed to instant help.
Let's talk expectations, because if you're watching us tonight during our coverage, you can expect that we'll be talking a lot about the picks as they come in, analysis. We'll have interviews with some of the players. We've got our own capologist here. We've got social networking involved. This will be the place to be. But if you do want to hear Commissioner Adam Silver announce the picks, you'll be able to do that throughout the course of the evening over on ESPN. Pick who has announced 30.
Well, why go there when you could just talk to us all night?
What he said.
That's
now,
right.
30 years ago, I think they had this on TV at the time. Kenny, did they?
Come on, brother.
Was there TV?
Hey, come on, baby.
What do you remember?
Over-the-air TV.
I remember that I had that nice green suit. I still have it. I could still fit it.
Yeah, you fit into
and
it.
I get that gold tie. It's bronzed up, baby. But I think walking that stage for the first time, you know, it's obviously a dream that you thought about, but it's a surreal moment because you don't think about all the things. And funny thing about putting that Sacramento hat on, it was the only team that it was one of the few teams I didn't go see. So I was surprised that they took me at 6 because I hadn't gone there. And Bill Russell said, I didn't need to interview you. I just need to see you play on tape, and I knew enough. So it was great opportunity, great. The number 1 pick today, and it's been a lot of thing about Markelle Fultz being the number 1 pick. And for me, just as my personal opinion, I just feel not as a better player, but a better fit would be Ball in Philadelphia and Markelle in LA. LA needs scoring. You know, so to me, I would play, I have Embiid, I have Simmons, I would have ball movement, I would have guys who can do. I just think that that's a better fit for Ball, Philadelphia.
You're saying right now, Kenny, but if you're the Lakers and looking at what they're trying to do in the future, the Paul George and all those guys they're trying to acquire.
But if I'm Ball, I want to go to Philly. I want to play with Embiid and Simmons. I wouldn't have wanted to go to the Lakers with, obviously you got Magic Johnson who's at the helm, but I don't know what there is. I know that Embiid is going to be a superstar, not a star.
So
He's
you're saying if you're Philadelphia and you're the GM of the Sixers,
I would take
you would take Lonzo?
I would take Lonzo Ball.
One
even thinking about it.
One of the reasons they're not going to do that is because they feel Ben Simmons, again, he's going to be their LeBron, their guy who facilitates ball in hand. They think Fultz, who can play one-on-one, he's a great isolation player, they think he's going to be the guy that will have the ball.
But when are you going to play isolation when the ball is in Ben Simmons' hands? You can't. So you need a guy who can play off the ball like he did at UCLA with Bryce Alford and shown that he could do that even when he played. I've watched him his whole high school career. I don't know his family well, but I've watched him a lot. And I'm saying he did that in high school with his brothers. He was off the ball a lot, even in high school. So he understands how to play both positions. I just feel it's a better fit. I don't know if it's going to happen, but if I'm general manager of the Philadelphia 76ers, I'm shaking things up right away, and I'm taking ball. And then now, Magic Johnson, you figure that out later, and your Laker fans have to figure something else out.
It is kind of interesting to me and a little bit surprising that there is such a broad consensus that Fultz will be the #1 pick. Again, I would take him #1, but I didn't feel like, and let's set aside, we'll talk later about how his team did or did not do during the course of the college basketball season. I didn't sense coming into the postseason that he was going to be so head and shoulders ahead of everybody else. You could make an argument for Lonzo Ball. You could make an argument for De'Aaron Fox being a better NBA point guard, and I think you can make an argument for either Tatum or Josh Jackson going #1. But it seems that nobody is saying that anybody other than Markelle Fultz even has a shot to be the #1 guy. That surprises me.
What is the best fit for you, Smitty? You've been a player.
That's what I'm saying. The best fit for me, I think, for Philadelphia,
right?
Taking another away from Markelle Fultz is Josh Jackson.
Okay.
Because Ben Simmons has the basketball, like you said, the ball's going to Embiid. I have a wing defender that can defend, that can get out and run, and with his size. So I would think the best fit for Philly out of this group is Josh Jackson.
And to me, the best fit for the Lakers is somebody who can put the ball in the basket. You got Clarkson, you got other guys, you got Lou Williams, but you need a starter who can put the ball in the basket. And really, Markelle Fultz does that better than Ball. So to me, it might not be the popular thing to do for the first month of the season, but once they get going, you'll say, oh, this is a better opportunity.
See, this, to me, this conversation here is what, for me, and as a point guard yourself, has to make this one of the more exciting drafts. You think back to '83 in the NFL, which is always talked about, and those quarterbacks that change franchises. We're looking at Fultz, we're looking at Ball, De'Aaron Fox, Dennis Smith. You've got Tilakina, who's coming out of France, among others. This is the point guard draft. I mean, you're in your heyday. You like Lonzo Ball best. Who's your second in command? Are you a Fultz guy?
I'm not saying I don't like him best. I'm saying I like him best for Philly.
Okay.
And I like Fultz best for the Lakers.
Who's a better player?
There is no. It's because basketball is about fit.
Okay.
When I played in Sacramento, I was a terrible player. You put me with Akeem Olajuwon, they were like, yo, this guy can make an all-star team. So it's who you play with that makes you better. And as a point guard coming into the draft, the first thing I'm going to go is I want to play with a great player or a great center. I want to go, so I got Embiid or to give me LeBron James. So I don't have LeBron. Give me Embiid, who can be a superstar, big man player, and then I'm going to be a better player. And then my career shoots and skyrockets. My career did not skyrocket until I got to the Rockets. When I was in Sacramento, I was just a good player who could average 18 points a game on a bad team. But when I got to Houston and averaged 15 points on a great team, I became, oh, wow, this guy can play. So if I'm Ball, I want that. I don't want that Lakers stuff right now.
I think to your point, Casey, you got to look at, I'm old school like Kenny. You said the best point guard group. You got to define what point guards you're talking about, because in this era, they're scoring guards.
Yep.
They're not point guards setting up. Lonzo Ball is the one true point guard, along with Fox, I think, that can be a lead guard. Most of these guys are scoring guards. That's totally different back in the era when we played point guard.
No question.
Dennis Smith and Markelle Fultz being two of those.
They're scorers.
The interesting thing is you mentioned Josh Jackson, and we hear from a lot, and you know Josh well, this is a guy who said a lot of people feel is the best player in this draft with the most upside in this draft. How surprised are you that it looks like Boston might pass on him at 3 and go with Tatum, and we could be looking at the Phoenix Suns, a very interesting team for Josh Jackson at 4?
It's close between those two guys. And again, it's, what are you looking for long term? I think in the short term, Tatum probably has the better chance to have an impact in the league because it's such a scoring-oriented league. I think Jackson is a better defender. He's a better rebounder. He's a better athlete in the open court. Jason Tatum is a pure scorer. He can shoot it deep. He has a mid-range game. He can score on the post, and he measured great at the combine in terms of his wingspan, so he can defend the post as well. So he can do a lot of things. But Josh Jackson, to me, athletically, in terms of the way he moves, he's very lithe, he's very flexible, he's very agile. I just think long-term you can see, and I was also very impressed, even though he's got kind of an odd shooting form, not quite as odd as Lonzo's, but he's got a hitch in his shot. His three-point shooting got better over the course of the season. Foul shooting still not good. Maybe that's a little bit of a warning sign. So it's almost a coin flip between those two. I would favor Josh Jackson because I think long-term his athleticism, his ability to get better, his killer instinct, which a guy like Andrew Wiggins did not have coming out of Kansas, I think that bodes well for his future. But if you want to go with Tatum, I'm not going to talk you out of it.
I think Tatum, the reason why I would go Tatum is you got Jaylen Brown there, and I think Tatum is more of a 4 than Josh Jackson at this level. But I'm with you. I think Josh Jackson, for him personally, I think is a better fit with Phoenix. You get a chance to see more of him use his athletic ability. But I don't see Josh Jackson at 190, 200 pounds playing the 4 spot in this NBA right now.
It's also, Kenny, to your question, though, about who's going first, it's kind of a philosophical question, too. Like, if you have the #1 pick, are you really picking for fit? Or are you saying we're going to take the best player? Like, at what point down in the draft do you get off of the best? I would lean toward with the #1 pick. I'm saying I'm just taking the best player, and I'll figure out how they're going to play together when we get there.
There's no separation in number one players.
To me, the separation is the #1 player better have the best fit. The best player better have the best fit for me. So meaning, if I'm going to take Fultz, I'm willing to get rid of any guard that I have or Ball. I'm willing to get rid of any of them to make room for them, or I just have a need for that because my 2 guard is really good. If they don't make that statement, I don't take them. So then that's how I look at it. And fit meaning style of play. There's no team in the NBA that's a great team or has been a great team that doesn't have a style. When you go to Golden State, they're going up and down. So I could plug in guys right away. I could draft better and I could trade better. If I go to Cleveland now, I know I need guys who can spot up shooter or make plays when LeBron doesn't have the ball. So I have a style of play to kind of vision. That's how I'm picking my team.
Well, I'll tell you what, we might need calculators tonight because with the trades going on, a lot of capology to deal with. We have our own capologist on hand in Eric Pincus. Now, Eric, first of all, take us through. This is kind of a little bit of a math lesson, not for us, but just for all the folks watching. There was a change.
No, for me too.
There was a change in the cap space. Give us a sense of what the change was in the last 24 hours.
Well, the league sent out a memo to all 30 teams saying that the cap, which was projected to be $101 million, which would be a record, is going to be about $99 million. That's a drop of about $2 million. And if you go back a couple of years, what's fascinating is the projection was actually $109 million. So it's in 2 years, it's dropped a lot. And that's really a function of these teams finding a way to spend a lot of money the last few years. I mean, they spent a ton. Guys like Bismack Biyombo, Timofey Mozgov, they restructured Russell Westbrook, James Harden. They found ways to spend. But the last little bit, this last $2 million is because of Golden State and Cleveland. They swept through everybody almost, and they just didn't have as many playoff games as usual. So the projection, it was a little bit off. That means a little bit less spending power for some teams. It changes some of the numbers. Someone like Steph Curry, instead of $205 million, is eligible for $200 million. I think he'll be okay.
Hey, Eric, Steve Smith, I got a question. Yes. Casey asked me a question about Jimmy Butler earlier. Also, can you also explain that maybe Jimmy Butler doesn't want to get traded because he's not eligible for his designated max, player max? Can you explain that? It's kind of like what Cousins happened in Sacramento, because if he's traded, he's not eligible for his designated player max.
Well, you have that issue also with Paul George with Indiana, and the fact is that you have to be with your same team that you started out with, and there's some wrinkles to that. It's not 100% true, but in the cases of these players, absolutely, you can leave. So, for instance, if Jimmy Butler was traded, or the example of Paul George, if he's traded, they can't get this supermax extension. And really what it is it's a jump up to the 10-year max. They have 3 tiers. You have your lower tier for your younger guys, and then you have this sweet spot where the guys like the Jimmy Butlers and the Paul Georges are. It's the top tier. That's where you want to be, the 10-plus tier where you can get $200 million. And these guys would be eligible if they qualify, but not if they're traded.
Eric, appreciate it. We'll talk to you throughout the course of the evening. Thanks again. You know, guys, he talked about Paul George, Jimmy Butler. Here in New York, I know not with Brooklyn, but a lot of Knicks fans will be in attendance. Kenny, is the New Yorkers here on set. Knicks haven't exactly had a great run over the last couple of years with Phil. The one thing that's happened that was good was the drafting of Porzingis a couple of years ago. Do you think this is a reality or a smokescreen that there's so much conversation leading up to tonight about Porzingis?
Well, I think it just hits what Seth we were talking about earlier. A great player, but maybe not a great fit. Because if you don't have a style of play that you can go to, the Knicks don't. You could tell me the Knicks could get the first, second, and third pick. And when you ask me, will they fit in and play well, I'll say, I have no idea. Because there's no style of play. When I go to Madison Square Garden, I don't know if they're going to play fast. I don't know if they're going to play slow. I don't know if they're going to defend. I don't know if they're going to extend their defense. They don't have a style. So when you don't have a style, you can't draft and you can't draft. Or have free agents. It doesn't make any sense. You're just putting round holes in square pegs or vice versa. You know, so it never happens until the Knicks identify a style of play. And if they allow their coaching staff to create that and not from the general managership, because he's not in the trenches every day in practice and game. And Phil Jackson, if he was on the sideline, I would be so confident in being a Knicks fan. But when Phil Jackson is in the booth and not on the bench, I don't have the same confidence in the New York Knicks. I have a great deal of confidence in Phil as a coach. I think he's one of the best that ever did it and the best that ever was. But as a general manager, I want him on the bench. I don't want him in the stands, or I don't want him in the office.
Let's be fair about this with Phil, right? Didn't handle the Melo situation. Should have, and he's earned that with that franchise. Gone to him personally and said, went through the media, went through friends who are authoring up print. And in this situation, he's upset that Porzingis didn't show up at a meeting. Isn't that supposed to be his job, Smitty, to be the better person? You're leading the franchise, not a 21-year-old kid.
Well, no. Definitely Porzingis is not leading the franchise, but Porzingis sent a message to the franchise when he didn't come to the exit meeting, when you haven't had contact with him throughout this entire summer. So if you do look at Phil, he's probably saying, we're not able to maybe to re-sign him. Maybe we look at this draft right now to see what we can get best available. Because right now, it looks like Porzingis is saying, I am not on board what the Knicks are doing, what we're hearing throughout the media and all the rumors.
All right, we're throwing out there on Twitter throughout the course of the night. You could tweet all of us along the way. We'll get some of your tweets on the air. We're asking you, should Kristaps Porzingis be traded? Knicks fans, you could jump in and vote on Twitter now. With that and more on social networking, a happy guy keeping tabs on some very unhappy people throughout the course of the draft for us on Twitter. Here's Trey Kirby.
I thought that was Clyde Frazier.
Yeah, you know, Kenny, I'm getting to be 33 now. I'm kind of getting the feeling I might not get drafted into the NBA, but it's my first time at the draft. Had to get something special, but I'll be here all night looking for your tweets about the NBA draft, so you can send it to me. You can send it to hashtag NBA draft. We're going to find it no matter what. But earlier today, I was on the bus with a bunch of these draft prospects, asking them an important question. When they greet Commissioner Adam Silver, will it be with a hug or a handshake?
Definitely a handshake.
Keeping it professional.
Yeah. I'm going to do a little, I think I'm going to do both. I got to go with the vibe. Whatever he's going for, that's what I'm going to do. So,
we're both Duke guys, so, you know, I might give him a hug, a good Duke hug.
The commissioner getting a handshake.
He's pretty good at the depth, though, you know?
Nah, he is, but he's definitely getting a handshake.
I'm going to definitely go with the handshake. We were told not to hug him.
I will be here all night looking for your tweets, so please tweet us. Casey and the guys, back to you.
All right, we will not be hugging on set, but you can tweet us your hugs, or find Kenny live, or find Seth tweeting about other things that are not involved in sports.
Only sports tonight for a few hours.
We got more coming up, our coverage presenting of the draft.
This portion of NBA TV Canada is brought to you by Raptors Home and Auto, provided by Aviva. Get a quote today at aviva.raptorshomeauto.com.
A better back and a better body. Since 1981, that has been my passion. I created teeter hang-ups so people could live healthier, more active lives. I know what it's like to have back pain. When I found Inversion, it changed my life forever, and I believe it can change yours. I am proud to present the newest and best Teeter Hang-Ups. Teeter Hang-Ups is easy to use. Simply set it, lock it, recline, and relax. Just 3 to 5 minutes a day in your own home to help relieve back pain, relieve stress, improve posture, rejuvenate joint health, and build core strength.
The Teeter Hang-Ups offers relief from back pain, naturally targeting the source of the ache by relaxing tense muscles and providing decompression that can help to restore the nutrients to the discs, reduce nerve pressure, and realign the spine.
I can get on it, hang upside down for 10 or 15 minutes, get up, and my back pain is gone. It's amazing.
Instantly, I was feeling the effects from it. My lower back was feeling better in the mornings, and I just kind of felt rejuvenated getting off it every day.
Medical and scientific studies around the world have shown the benefits of inversion, and over 2 million people have put their trust in Teeter Hang-Ups for a better back and a better body. I'm over 72. And I feel great.
Only Teeter meets UL's tough consumer safety testing standard. No one else even comes close to Teeter quality and performance. Now you can try the latest Teeter Hang-Ups in your home for 30 days for only $14.95. We'll also include 2 of our most popular accessories, which add acupressure massage and deepens the lumbar stretch. Plus, you'll receive the Healthy Back and Core System. But that is not all. If you call now, we'll also upgrade your order to free expedited processing.
This thing is mine. You can't have it. It's one of my most valuable possessions. It really is.
Trust Teeter Hang-Ups for a better back, better body.
Pounding the rock to get better every day. There's nobody in this room, including me and the coaching staff, all right, that can't get better every day. I learn every day, man. So it's not just you. Every time we walk on the floor, we've got to be a team. We've got to pound the rock to get better.
It is the era of the point guard. You look at some who have been drafted in recent years that have become stars, including John Wall. He once from Calipari in Kentucky. Maybe De'Aaron Fox the next to add to that list. But we know about Fox, and we know about Ball, and we know about Fultz, and even Dennis Smith, even down to Juwan Evans. But Scott Howard Cooper, our international guru, is here all throughout the night. Tell us about Frank Ntilikina, who first of all we're going to have to learn how to pronounce. Second of all, might end up coming here. Knicks, Mavericks, and others involved, Scott.
Well, I think people are going to have a long time to learn how to pronounce his name because he's got a good chance to be a big success in the NBA. He's only going this far into the second half of the lottery and rated this low among the point guards because it is such a great year at the position and at the top of the lottery in general. A year ago, he may have been the number 4 or 5 pick. This is a guy who's young, but he's got a great feel and a court presence. A lot of people see a terrific future.
All right, appreciate it, Scott. We'll get you throughout the course of the night. Other international players and that kind of flavor throughout this show. The Knicks, they drafted one in Porzingis. We asked, should they trade Porzingis? Your votes continue to come in. Tweet us throughout the course of the night. More coverage on NBA TV of the NBA Draft.
Pain and bad circulation in your legs and feet affecting your life and your sleep? Call and order Dr. Ho's Circulation Promoter today. You can be more active, relax, and wake up feeling great. Dr. Ho's Circulation Promoter is a professional TENS that helps activate your nerves and muscles to relieve pain, reduce water retention, muscle fatigue, and swelling in your legs and feet. Recommended for anyone with numbness, weakness, and pain due to neuropathy, herniated disc, sciatica, restless leg syndrome, and for anyone who needs a soothing massage to relieve their sore and sensitive feet. Imagine a relaxing massage at the end of a stressful day. Dr. Ho's is a total body pain therapy system. Just plug in the body relief pads and get relief for your migraines, tension headaches, neck pain, back pain, knee pain, shoulder tension, and pain from fibromyalgia and arthritis. It's doctor recommended because it works. Clinically proven to relieve pain in only one 20-minute treatment. Safe to use with medication and with metal implants. It's easy, safe, and effective and feels so good, like a deep soothing massage. It's portable. Treat yourself anytime. With no appointments, no pills, and no ongoing bills, you save time and money. Similar products can cost almost $300. With Dr. Ho's, you get more but pay less. Call now and get Dr. Ho's Circulation Promoter with superconductive foot massage pads, instructional DVD, pad placement chart, It's everything you need for total relief. Call now and we'll also include the travel foot relief pads, a $50 value free. This entire system available today at only 5 easy payments of $49.99. Wait, we'll also include the travel pouch, 2 pairs of body relief pads and 1 pair of extra large pads free. You save $100. Hold on. Call to order now and we'll take 1 full payment off. That's right. You get the entire package for only 4 easy payments of $49.99. It's the perfect gift. Call now.
I guarantee that it'll help. There's no risk. If you change your mind after trying it, you can return it within 30 days for a full refund of the purchase price.
You're searching for something, like the perfect deal on the perfect hotel. So wouldn't it be perfect if there was a single site where you could find the right hotel for you at the best price? There is, because TripAdvisor now compares prices from over 200 booking sites to save you up to 30% on the hotel you want. Trust this bird's words. TripAdvisor, the latest reviews, the lowest prices.
This is your last chance to make your opinion count in the NBA awards. To vote for the nominee you think should receive each award, post the first and last name of the nominee and then use the corresponding hashtag on Twitter, Instagram. You can use Facebook. Voting closes at midnight. The winners announced during our NBA awards special on TNT Monday at 9 p.m. Eastern time. We continue to count down to find out which one of the names that we know will go in the top group will go number 1. We're thinking Fultz. Could there be a surprise?
Do you wake up with aches and pains? Are your muscles sore and stiff? Is pain affecting your work and daily life? Then your life is about to change forever. Introducing Dr. Ho's Pain Therapy System, your solution to living with less pain. Developed by renowned pain specialist Dr. Michael Ho, the secret to the extraordinary results is the automodulated pain-relieving waves, clinically proven to relax muscles and improve circulation to relieve pain. Recommended by doctors and users everywhere. A 20-minute treatment helps relieve the pain of stress, fibromyalgia, tension headaches, migraines, neck pain, back pain, hip pain, shoulder tension, and joint pain in knees and hands, pain related to sports injuries, accidents, and repetitive work. It's portable, safe, and effective. It's easy to use and feels so good, like a soothing massage. Get relief when you need it while saving you time and money. You could spend thousands on other treatments and costly pain pills and still suffer with pain. Until now. For this special offer, you get Dr. Ho's Pain Therapy System for just 4 easy payments of $64.99. You'll get Dr. Ho's Pain Therapy 4-pad system with 4 massage pads, the pad placement chart, and instructional DVD. But get this, call now and we'll drop a payment. You pay only 3 easy payments of $64.99. That's a 25% savings. Order today and get these soothing foot relief pads. Perfect for massaging your tired and sore feet. Great for boosting circulation. A $50 value, yours free. Wait, we'll also add the protective case and lightweight therapy travel bag. A $30 value included. Hold on. Act now and get 2 bonus extra large FlexTone pads and 4 bonus massage pads. A $40 value, yours for ordering now. This special promotion won't last forever and is backed by Dr. Ho's 30-day money-back guarantee. It's the perfect gift for yourself and loved ones. Don't wait. Call now.
You know, you missed a bunch of great guys today.
Where?
Everywhere you went.
Who?
I don't know, but you can know with new Missed Connections from Match. Check it out.
Oh, cross paths with John.
You had no idea. Check out new Missed Connections on Match. Start for free today.
18+. Finding the best hotel price is now a safe bet because TripAdvisor searches over 200 booking sites, so you save up to 30% on the hotel you want. Lock it in. TripAdvisor.
Earlier, we took a look at Kenny's draft. Hey, Smitty, how about 1991? Whoa. What do you remember about this moment?
Well, you know, the greatest thing for me is I got a chance to hug my guy, Doug Smith. We grew up together. And what I remember is everybody from my high school coach to my dad, Spencer Haywood, Leroy Haywood, everybody who played a part, and the dream come true. To walk across that stage, coming from Detroit, to get a chance to be the 5th pick in the draft. And then, for me, Kenny was special I'm going to play with Glenn Rice, Grant Long, guys I grew up with. So I had a comfort level. And then Miami wasn't bad as well, going to the city of Miami.
Yeah, I remember that jute suit you had on. Look at your shoulders are out 3 inches on each side, extra material.
Let me tell you something.
Oh, my goodness.
My suit still look good now.
You know what I'm saying? Oh, it probably fits right now. But that's extra suit. Oh, man, that was good. The pad.
Still clean. That's one thing. I've always been fashionable.
It's all right to have the third best suit on set. You're good.
I like that, though.
We're all playing for second, clearly.
Yeah, we all playing for second.
No doubt
Depending
about
who's voting, though.
Fair enough. I'm just trying to rep Kentucky. Do they have enough first-round picks?
I thought it was Kansas City Royals. That's George Brett.
I'm repping. They keep telling me around these parts I'm repping the Mets, but I'm a little bit embarrassed to do that. So that's a negative. Well, guys, we're counting down. How nervous do you remember being in these moments before you were drafted, before it began?
I honestly wasn't nervous, but I do think that it's longer than you think. I was the 6th pick, but it took 30 minutes for the 6th pick to come out. So you're sitting there, you're like, oh, you're number 6, you came out fast, but it's 5 minutes in between each pick. So you're sitting there for 30 minutes trying to figure out where you're going. So imagine when you're number 10, number 12, or number 15. So it sounds like a high pick, but just sitting in that audience for a long time.
Could you guys have imagined that the draft would become the type of show that it has become with all of the
Well, it was like that.
You're covering the pre-draft.
It was like that when we were here. It was this.
It was no social media, but it was this.
But it was definitely this. It was in Madison Square Garden. Yes. Now we're in Barclays. It looked just like this. I'm sitting in the everything looks the same.
Yeah.
Everything looks the same for me. It's now probably more people have access to it. But inside the building,
the energy was there.
Yes,
I think for me, just sitting there, Kenny, just reflecting every drill you put in. I think I reflected all the way down to my 3rd grade coach. That's the one thing, just to say how many guys and people and women in neighborhood had a part and played for me getting drafted.
That's why, for me as a viewer, the families, getting to see the family reaction and the tears of joy. They know that their kids are going to get drafted. Markelle Fultz's family knows going to get drafted. But, Kenny, that raw emotion that comes out when their boy goes up on stage.
Well, I think it was even a little bit different for me being a New Yorker. So, you know, most people get tickets. I had a section. I had, like, section 102 was all New York City people that watched me play my whole life. So it wasn't just, you know, everyone had an opportunity to be part of it. So guys that I grew up with, and then they bought tickets. People in my neighborhood, they would buy tickets. So it was a euphoric moment for me. Myself, Mark Jackson was also doing that draft as well. He's a Queens native as well. And that was probably more memorable than anything because Mark Jackson was the 18th pick. And he was the last person out there by himself. And I was in the back doing interviews, and I ran out. I stopped my interviews, and I ran out, and I sat with him from like 14 to 18 so he wouldn't be out there by himself because I saw him about to cry, and he felt like the world was ending, but he was the 18th pick. So, but when you're out there by yourself,
everybody's world should end.
No one else was out there.
Right.
And so I sat with him from 14 to 18 just to kind of go through it. So these guys are enjoying the moment for sure.
Seth, we know a lot of the names. There are some we don't talk about as much. There are a lot of bigs, for example, that are going to be right in that middle area, back into the lottery. Give me a name that stands out to you. You were excited to watch and that you can't wait to see at this level.
Well, Zach Collins, for me, from Gonzaga is an interesting case. Here's a guy who didn't even start for his team this year. Now, they only lost one game. I forget what happened in the last game. Maybe Kenny can remind me. But, you know, he came on. He had a great semifinal game when they were able to win it at the Final Four. And the tools that he showed, the efficiency that he showed when he was on the court. So he's a guy who's projected in some of these mocks is going from maybe 10 or 12. If there is a surprise in the draft, I think maybe he could be going a little bit higher at 5 or 6. I think he's probably the best big man prospect. But you know, you talked about the point guards earlier. There are a lot of really good big men in this draft. They're long-term prospects. Jared Allen coming out of Texas. Justin Patton is a guy from Creighton, came in redshirted last year because he wasn't physically ready to play college basketball. And tonight he's going to be a first-round pick.
Well, from Jared Allen to our own Jared Greenberg, out at the red carpet, getting sound, including from the consensus #1 overall and future 76er Markelle Fultz. Take a listen.
I really haven't talked to anybody about where I'm getting picked, and just because I wanted to be like a special moment for me. So my family might know, but I don't know anything going on tonight. So
you want to be genuinely surprised. You want to hear Adam Silver say it before you know.
Yeah, definitely.
For me, I'm the first one in my family, you know, to make it. And when you work for something so long and it's finally here, you know, all the emotion is high, and I'm just happy to be here.
You ever been on a red carpet before?
I have.
For what?
Nothing. I'm kidding. I've never.
Come on, man.
I've never.
You a movie star too?
Nah, I wish.
Nah, this is the first time. I mean, I've been on a red rug, but not a carpet.
Right,
So
well, is it really that much of a difference?
yeah, nah, this is way nicer. I see how it is.
Have you figured out yet if you're going to be able to put the hat on?
That's gonna be the tough part. My decision was kind of to go with not putting it on, but I guess you have to. So I just got to deal with it.
I mean, this is the only time we had where we couldn't pick where we go. So you got to enjoy it. We only go through this process once, so you got to have fun as much as you can.
The Big Apple, where dreams are big and successes are even bigger. And tonight, the biggest of dreams will come true here at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. For those drafted, the dream of one day becoming an NBA player. And for the teams, getting one step closer to building a champion. From one-and-done stars to four-year standouts, from tourney heroes to overseas talents, they have come for their moment, that next step. And their journey begins now.
For months now, these kids have been dissected.
He wasn't as productive as people had projected him to be.
Can he defend? Is he really a one? Is he athletic enough?
Nitpicked.
He's the type of player that's a weight room away from being a really, really good player.
Do I want to take him that high and just sit him behind this other guy for the next 2 or 3 years?
Put under the microscope.
Where he needs improvement, it would be at the defensive end.
Concerns that you have for Lonzo Ball.
Is he a kind of guy that can take the grind of an 82-game season?
There's a reason these players have been so scrutinized. This class has what it takes to change the landscape of the league.
I always wanted to be an NBA star.
Because I want to be the best. It's something that I've dreamed of since I was little.
My game is just ready for the next level.
That next level begins tonight. A firm handshake and a hat. The best fruits after a lifetime of labor.
We run 6 sprints up one hill, and we go to an even bigger hill, and we run 6 sprints up that one, too.
Keep it going, boy! Keep it going, boy!
Yeah, I had a ball in my hand since the day I was born, so I was pretty much destined to play.
All the hard work paying off, so that day's going to be mean the most to me.
Tonight belongs to this class and their dream. It's the culmination of so much hard work.
My game is as great as it's ever been.
You want to do something, be the best you can at it.
Tonight belongs to the dreamers.
I'm excited to be able to call myself an NBA player.
It's the 2017 NBA Draft.
We welcome you live inside the Barclays Center, home to the NBA farm at our NBA. Throughout the course of the night with you, we will have all of the analysis of all of the from some of them. We've got a capologist, we've got an international expert, if you will, to help us pronounce names and learn about players. And if you'd like to hear the Commissioner Adam Silver, you can hear those picks on the ESPN side of things. Casey Smith and Davis, Kenny the Jet, Steve Smith and Seth Davis. Guys, the Sixers are on the clock and the pick is all. How many people believe it's Markelle Fultz? Is there any way it's not Markelle Fultz for this pick?
Unless Kenny's making the pick, apparently.
Like I said, I would pick Ball. I think it's a better fit. Markelle Fultz is, I'm not saying he's not a better player than Markelle Fultz. I just think it's a better fit. You got guys who can pass the ball, move it around with Simmons and Ball. That's what I would do.
I'll tell you what, for Markelle Fultz, he laughed off today the idea that he didn't win in college and that it means something. He's looking to win at the NBA level. He's a guy who could score with the ball, obviously shoot as well, and will lead a heavy point guard laden draft. We look back at point guards drafted 1 in the past.
The draft is officially open. First pick, the Los Angeles Lakers select Earvin Magic Johnson.
For being #1 drafted, first I was just elated over being that.
With the first pick, the Philadelphia 76ers select Allen Iverson.
What a tremendous moment that is for a kid, and dreaming of this night.
The Chicago Bulls select Derrick Rose.
I can't believe I'm right here in the draft.
This is the shortest draft I ever had.
Yeah, and I get the most buckets out of anybody.
The Washington Wizards select John Wall.
Go, brother. Proud of you.
The Cleveland Cavaliers select Kyrie Irving.
David Stern came up there and said that the Cleveland Cavaliers had 5 minutes on the clock. That felt like the longest 5 minutes of my life.
With the first pick of the 2017 NBA Draft, the Philadelphia 76ers select.
We are standing, I feel like Ryan Seacrest when he said, we'll get to you after the break. We're still standing by for the first pick. It takes the commissioner a long time to get with the card to the stage. Guys, in the meantime, we talk about the Philadelphia 76ers and their situation as we move forward. We take a look back at Philadelphia's picks in the past.
Losing streak to start an NBA season. They have lost 28 in a row.
If the Sixers' grand plan over the last 5 years was to lose at an historic pace, secure as many high draft picks as possible, and then nail those draft picks, well, let's just say they've got the losing and securing high draft picks part down pat. It's the nailing those draft picks that's been the issue. This year, the Sixers will pick in the top 3 for the 4th straight season, and the most successful of those previous 3 picks, Joel Embiid, has missed 215 out of a possible 246 games in his brief career. Last year's #1 overall pick, Ben Simmons, missed the entire season, recovering from foot surgery. And while 2015 #2 overall pick Jahlil Okafor has put up solid numbers, he still missed 61 games over the last 2 seasons combined.
With the #1 pick overall, the Philadelphia 76ers, as expected, do draft Markelle Fultz, 6'5", guard with a 6'10" wingspan. Seth, a lot of talk about what his team did, but what did you see from Fultz specifically individually in college?
Well, individually, he was sensational. I mean, people talk about what his team did. Let's remember how young and depleted Washington was. They lost 2 freshmen from last year's team who were first-round draft picks. Markelle Fultz shot 48% from the floor and 41% from 3. He averaged 6 assists a game. He averaged 6 rebounds a game. What do you want the kid to do? The team won 9 games because they didn't have good players around him. He wasn't selfish. He brought it every day. Defenses could load up on him, double teaming him, triple teaming him, still put up good numbers with good percentages. I think he is tailor-made for today's NBA, where not only do you have to be a point guard, you have to be a points guard. And I think that Markelle Fultz and Jason Tatum are the 2 players in this draft who are ready from day one offensively to have an impact on their team.
You know, Kenny, here's a guy with some size, should be able to defend also at the level. When you look at him, forgetting the fit for a second, just as a player, what do you see from Fultz that you liked in college, and what do you think he needs to work on?
Well, it's all about development when you're coming into the league, honestly, because most guys are going to have some huge glaring deficiencies and they're going to have some strength. But how do you develop as over the years come determines how good a basketball player you become. You know, obviously his speed, athleticism is going to help him. The ability to create shots, you know, it's bigger now and more prevalent than actually defensive prowess. So you just have to be a really good team defender more than an individual defender now. I think that's changed over the years. So for me, watching him become a team defender, you know, is more important than becoming a lockdown guy who can pressure up front. But if you can put the ball in the basket, you become a star earlier than you did in the 90s and the early 2000s. So this is the time of the scoring guy.
Look, Smitty, the story here is this is as excited as a Sixer fan, let's be honest, tonight has been in how long, how many years? We know if healthy is the asterisk, but you've got Embiid. You love what Saric did. He'll be a top 3 Rookie of the Year guy. Covington, a guy who can defend and shoot, who comes back. Now you think of Fultz, they're starting to build. And don't forget Okafor, who's still on that team in Philadelphia.
Yeah, you got to have another guy that can score the basketball alongside Embiid. And what I love about Markelle Fultz is not a lot of young guards come in and be able to play on balance. Here's a guy like Steph talked about, drew double teams, still shot a high percentage, was unselfish. The one thing I love about him is he can get his shot, he can make shots off the pull-up at all 3 levels, from the 3-point line, in the mid-range, and then he's fearless playing through contact, going to the rim. The one thing I loved about him is he was forced to be the guy. He accepted that role. He didn't win a lot of games, but I never really saw him frustrated with his teammates. Everybody talked about it. He was a great teammate. I think he's going to be good. I think he's going to be fantastic playing alongside Embiid and also Ben Simmons.
And maybe a lot of people are wondering, well, you know, why does Markelle Fultz, if he's so good, he plays at DeMatha in Maryland, Hyattsville, Maryland, how does he end up at the University of Washington? Did they hire his dad? Did they hire his high school coach? No. They had an assistant coach who identified Fultz as a good player before he was good enough to play on the varsity. The coach was there recruiting another player. He saw Fultz on the JV, called Lorenzo Romar, said, I think you got to come see this kid who's really good. So when he blew up and other schools wanted to come in and recruit him, he stayed loyal to the coaching staff that recruited him first and showed the earliest interest. I think that should tell you something about this kid's mental makeup.
Well, we're about to tell you something about the Los Angeles Lakers on the clock at number 2. A lot of people feel like the match made in heaven, the gatekeeper and the keymaster, if you will, to use the Ghostbusters terms, Magic Johnson
if he
and Lonzo Ball.
The city's going to go crazy.
Absolutely.
This is already done. Signed, sealed, delivered. Come on, man. It's
I'm pretty sure.
Like,
I'm trying to build drama here, Jet. Come on, man.
Who's going to be in third? Who's going to be the third pick, man?
All right, the guy Kenny thinks should have been taken number 1. Fair, right?
Yeah, he's going to be. It's impossible for them not to take him unless there's a trade. You know, he's going to be the number 2 pick. He's from Los Angeles. He's grown up there. I grew up. I live in the Los Angeles area. I've watched him grow up from 8th grade all the way up. This guy's a Laker. He's going to be there. He's kind of. This is what LeBron James. They want to feel that feeling of LeBron James coming home. This is what they're feeling right now in Los Angeles.
All right, let me ask a question the whole America is asking. Does his dad go up there with him when he gets drafted?
Oh, man.
You know,
I mean, look, I'm thinking, come on, man.
I'm going to snatch him off stage.
You're thinking about it at home.
Just about the kid tonight.
You could tweet us, yeah, right, as we show a picture of a dad.
Yeah.
Lonzo Ball looks to be the pick for the Los Angeles Lakers, and what a fit it would be. A guy who went to UCLA. We're talking about somebody who set assist records, has vision comparatively to Jason Kidd, also to Magic Johnson. He's one of many point guards in the draft. Fultz ends up going to Philadelphia at number 1. Will the Lakers end up going to Ball? As these picks come in, you could tweet us along the way, all of our handles. Let us know, do you believe that the Sixers made the right choice at number 1? Do you believe the Lakers will make the right choice at number 2 as we look to fit Lonzo Ball? And they might not be done. We could see Paul George end up in a Laker uniform by the end of the night as well. That's the excitement of the Lakers tonight, Kenny. It could be the Lake Show here in New York.
I think it is the Lake Show, so we'll see.
Well, we'll see. We don't have to talk about New York yet, which makes it a little bit easier as we look back at the past at number 2.
In the weeks leading up to the 2007 NBA draft, there was legitimate debate as to who should go number 1. Portland had the first pick and was deciding between Greg Oden, a dominant 7'1" center out of Ohio State, or Kevin Durant, a smooth shooting forward out of Texas.
The Portland Trail Blazers select
The Blazers opted for the former,
Greg Oden from Ohio State University.
and then regretted the decision almost immediately. Before he even played an NBA game, Oden underwent microfracture knee surgery, wiping out his first season.
With the second pick, the Seattle Supersonics select Kevin Durant.
KD, who went number 2 to the Sonics, won Rookie of the Year.
Durant rises!
Oden played 105 career games before announcing his retirement at age 28. Kevin Durant, of course, was named League MVP in 2014 and is still going strong. The Los Angeles Lakers select.
All right, with the second pick, the Lakers select, as expected, Lonzo Ball. Seth, we're looking at a guy with great vision. He was one and done, but what a year it was at UCLA.
He was one and fun is what he was, and he completely changed the culture of UCLA. Steve Alford, a year before, didn't make the NCAA tournament, gave back part of his contract. They had a plane flying over campus that fired Alford. Funny how much smarter of a coach he was once Lonzo Ball came in, and you know, he really bought into the team concept right away. He made everybody better. I think he could have scored more than he did if he believed that was his role, and there were certain points where he did score a lot, and when it came down to games that were close and they needed big buckets late, he was able to give that to them. Now he's got a weird form on his jump shot. Pretty good percentage-wise, then of 41% from 3. I think in terms of translating to the next level is going to be his mid-range. He basically has no mid-range game, and I think his form is going to impact him then. But in terms of that whole Showtime vibe, getting out in the open court, creating also in the half court, he wasn't a great defender, but I don't think he had to be. I think if he dedicates himself and adopts that mindset, there's no reason why he can't defend NBA point guards. As Kenny said, this was a layup for Los Angeles to pick the hometown kid.
Well, I've got a layup, and that is right now that our buddy and our crew, Kevin Cottrell, back in Atlanta, who's watching, and every diehard Bulls fan just forgot about the rest of the draft because they now were sitting there and thinking about Jimmy Buckets going elsewhere. The Bulls have agreed in principle to deal Butler to the T-Wolves. In return, they will get Chris Dunn, Zach LaVine, and the number 7 overall pick. Let's start with the Butler end of it. Smitty, we talked about this in our pregame show tonight when we came on the air. The Tibbs and Butler thing just made too much sense, and now he gets his guy.
Yeah, you have Jimmy Butler going back with Tibbs, and now you start to match him up with Karl Anthony Towns, Andrew Wiggins, and Jimmy Butler. Now you have something to work with, and I look at it as how much did Jimmy Butler want to be traded? The one thing is you look at Chris Dunn and Zach LaVine, because of Zach LaVine coming off injury, you look at this trade, the 7th pick. This is Jimmy Butler getting a chance to go to Minnesota. Can he elevate this team alongside Karl Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins? I look at it now is, can he play off Karl Anthony Towns? He won't be the number 1 option. Karl Anthony Towns, to me, is still the number 1 option in Minnesota.
It'll be interesting now on the other side. Kenny, when you look at this deal, what do you see?
Well, first, congratulations to Lonzo Ball. I don't want to remiss that because this is a night about draft picks as well. But, you know, there's 2 things that you're going to be in this league now. You have to be really young or you have to be really going for it. And the Minnesota Timberwolves just said, we're going to really go for it. Because Jimmy Butler, I might disagree with you a little bit, Smitty. He's going to be the number 1 option because he's the guy who could create without having to wait for the basketball. So a lot of times the ball will already be in his hands. So he is the number 1 option in that ring, but you have a great number 2 option, and you have a great team possibly that could compete in the Western Conference. I don't think that they could have competed before in the Western Conference that's constructed with such a young team. This makes them old really quick, older in terms of experience really quick, and now they have a chance to compete to be a playoff team, and they can, from 4 to 8, they are right in there right now. They could be 4 to 8 without question. 1 to 4 still, those teams are set, but 4 to 8 they could be in there.
Now when you sit here and you look at why to be here, and you should all night with our coverage, not only the analysis on the desk at all ends, but we got the best capologist in the business to help us out with the math, Eric Pincus. So Eric, we go over to you. Give us the ramifications here on both sides of this deal.
Well, obviously for the Wolves, they are happy. This is the guy they needed. I mean, this is a team that really needs a leader and a veteran. Now, Jimmy won't be eligible, as we talked about, for that designated veteran exception, so there's a little money lost there, but he's in a situation where he gets to play for Tom Thibodeau, who he played for before. I think he'll ultimately be happy about it. The Timberwolves actually just waived a couple of days ago Nikola Pekovic, a center who was making a decent amount of money, and he medically retired. So they're actually under the salary cap right now, as of 5 o'clock today, by $25 million. So they have all the flexibility in the world to make this deal. They are giving up, of course, on some kids. I like Zach LaVine. I'm a UCLA guy. Went to UCLA. I'm a Bruin. Happy for him getting a chance to do something in Chicago. Chris Dunn's a nice player. They get the 7th pick. Both teams, I think, are in good stead. Both teams have still salary cap flexibility to work around, especially the Chicago Bulls. They've got some real flexibility now. It was the right thing to do.
All right, Eric, thank you. We'll talk to you in just a bit. Guys, on the other side, and we'll get to this in a few minutes, now you wonder the 7th pick. You got your point guard in Dunn, LaVine, who can do a little of everything. There aren't many big men in the early spot. Do they go for an Isaac, who's more of a project now that they're going young? Might end up being the guy that they look at 7. Let's talk about the Celtics at 3. Looks like it's going to be the Dookie and Jason Tatum. How about the fit? We'll find out in just a bit. The pick is in. Do you like the fit, though, Seth?
Tatum or Jackson would work well, but fine for me. I'll take either one.
I think that the Boston Celtics Eastern Conference Final, they need a veteran-type player. So there's no telling what Danny Ainge is doing. He had the number 1 pick and didn't really want it. So there's no telling what he could do with this pick and or if he needs anything in this draft, and he really needs a veteran. He needs a veteran guy who could score and make and create his own play. Jaylen Brown, Josh Jackson, Tatum, to me, are all interchangeable if you have those 3 guys. But you need a guy who could come in, Steve, and say, yo, I could get it done because I got 17 points a game for the last 15 years. Your last 10 years, rather. And I need a guy like that on my team if I'm the Celtics.
And I think also the area, Kenny, they got to find somebody that can help Al Horford rebound the basketball.
Without question.
I mean, that's the one area I think for them is if they can't get that type of score, they got to have somebody that's a big that can protect the rim, play big, let Al Horford be able to slide to the floor. They got to have some guy that can rebound the basketball.
And let's not forget, they were talks on both sides with Porzingis, a deal not commencing. They will pick at 3. So will it be Jason Tatum picked at Duke? The last guy picked at Duke at number 3 was Mike Dunleavy Jr. in 2002. Irony, the next pick in that draft, a Kansas guy in Drew Gooden. We might see the same thing tonight. Jason Tatum and Drew Gooden again. We look ahead, and then we look back at number 3.
On April 30th, 1956, the Boston Celtics pulled off perhaps the greatest trade in NBA history when they acquired the draft rights to Bill Russell from the St. Louis Hawks in exchange for Cliff Hagan and Ed McCauley. The deal immediately transformed the Celtics from a marginal NBA franchise to one of the greatest teams in the history of sports. In his 13 years in Boston, Russell would lead the C's to 11 NBA titles, win 5 MVP awards, and is widely considered one of the top 5 players in the history of basketball. And although McCauley and Hagan helped lead the Hawks to the 1958 title, they didn't make nearly the kind of impact that Russell did. In fact, only 12 years after the trade, the Hawks moved to Atlanta and NBA basketball never returned to St. Louis. With the 3rd pick of the 2017 NBA Draft, the Boston Celtics select.
The selection for the Celtics is Jason Tatum. Ironically, just as reports come out that the Celtics are deep in talks with the Pacers about Paul George, your veteran. So interesting things could develop. Let's talk Tatum first, Seth. What did we see in college for those who didn't watch him yet?
A Carmelo-like scorer with the basketball. Just a natural nose to the ball. Was hurt at the start of the year, so it took him a little while. He came back in early December, but just a natural scorer. Again, at 6'8", measured well at the combine in terms of his wingspan. Can go to the post to score, can go to the post to defend. When Mike Krzyzewski wanted to play a small lineup, they could put him at the 5. He was a very good defensive rebounder. He's not an out-of-this-world athlete, so he's not a Josh Jackson in that regard. He's not an Andrew Wiggins in that regard. He is a natural, gifted scorer, and he's a terrific kid. He's only going to get better.
You saw him throughout the tournament, Kenny. What'd you like about Tatum's game?
Well, I always say, who does this guy play like? And sometimes it's a guy who's recent and current in the NBA, and sometimes it's past or present. But I'm going to go a past guy. He reminds me of Marcus Johnson. You know, 6'8", wow. Broad shoulders, handle the ball, can shoot it, can post up, shoot the 3. You know, played with the Milwaukee Bucks for a long period, played with the Clippers a little bit, but more of a bulk. But he was a guy who was so versatile. He was kind of one of those first 4s that handled the ball. And that's what I think that Tatum is and can grow into, because if we would have seen him play 3 or 4 years of college basketball, his body would fill out and be what I think Marcus Johnson was.
Smitty, let's break down what you see from Tatum on the floor at Duke and show the Celtics fans what they're getting here at number 3.
Well, you have a guy that's, I think, the best ISO player in the draft right now. He can definitely catch the basketball at the mid-range, and he doesn't need a lot of dribbles, similar to Carmelo Anthony. If you watch him right now, I also label him as a gamer. Whatever his need for Coach K is, he brought that. Like Seth said, he played a lot of 5, he played some 4, but he could handle the basketball, and he had decent vision. But what he did best was being able to score the basketball. When the plays broke down in Duke, Coach K could go right to him, and he could go get a bucket, he could go get a foul. That's the one area, though, he has to work on his free throws to be able to get a higher percentage. But he's one of those guys that can score the basketball, and he doesn't need a help from a pick. He's an isolation, one-on-one type guy.
And I know the analytics guys don't like mid-range shots too much, but to me 2 points is 2 points, and he has kind of an old-school mid-range type of game. So I think in an NBA where it's more of an open court, more of a spread-out situation offensively, shorter shot clock, I think he's going to be able to take advantage of mismatches on his defenders. You put a smaller guy on him, he can go into the post. A bigger guy, he can take him outside, and he can do a lot of work inside between a shooter and a scorer, which is unusual for someone who's only 19 years old.
We talked about whether or not Porzingis, Butler, or George are going to be moved. Butler officially moved already. How about Paul George reports and talks with the Celtics? What about, we talk about the fit with the Lakers or the Cavaliers. What about a George fit, Kenny, with the Celtics?
Well, there are certain guys that, regardless of what, it's not if they fit. It's how guys are going to fit with them. Paul George is a how are they going to fit with him type of guy. You know, LeBron James doesn't go to Cleveland and worry about guy fitting in. He doesn't go to Miami worrying about fitting in. Paul George will not go anywhere worrying about fitting in.
All right, speaking of fitting in, again, we don't want to assume, but we're pretty sure this is going to end up being either Josh Jackson or somebody who at the last second trades in for him. Smitty, I know you've talked to him a bunch. You know him. I think he could be the best player in the draft. Tell the Suns fans why they should hope that he picks him.
Well,
here.
The one thing he has that's NBA ready is defensively, and also a guy that has competitive spirit. He will go out there and compete. The one thing I loved what he did in Kansas, I watched him play since he was a young kid. He's always had the ball in his hand, but he was able to thrive in Kansas without the basketball in his hand. He can defend the basketball, he can play with the basketball, and he's one of those guys that will do anything in traffic. You talk about 50-50 balls. He is a fiery competitor. Guy will do whatever it takes to win basketball games. But what I love is you didn't get a chance to see his total offensive ability. You might get a chance to see this, especially if he goes to Phoenix. He can finish. He can also shoot the basketball. It's unorthodox, but he's a scorer. But he's able to plug him in at different situations on the basketball court.
Kansas has had a lot of great players, set their freshman all-time mark for double-doubles and also for field goals. So this is a guy who clearly had a great career as a Jayhawk. The question is he now going to be the guy for the Phoenix Suns? Again, if you missed it, Jimmy Butler has been dealt. He's on his way to Minnesota. Levine Dunn, 7th pick the other way. The Celtics, who just took Tatum at 3, they are in talks, according to Woj, to possibly get Paul George of the Indiana Pacers next. So we watch them. And Sacramento is sitting on the clock at 5. So I'm just trying to keep you all posted as we're all sweating under the collar. We take a look back at number 4.
Two of the greatest point guards in basketball history were chosen 4th overall in the NBA draft. Back in 2005, Chris Paul was taken by the New Orleans Hornets, just 1 pick after the Jazz selected Darren Williams. There was great debate both leading up to the draft and the years after the draft as to who was the better point guard, CP3 or D-Will. But there's no debate anymore. Russell Westbrook was taken by Seattle in 2008.
Tell us from the Seattle Supersonics, what do you see in this young man?
He's a great defender, a great guy to be around, I heard, and he's a great addition to our team. So I'm excited to play for him next year, and I can't wait.
And he's pretty much been a star from day one. Twice leading the NBA in scoring, going all Oscar Robertson on the NBA this past season, and is favored to win league MVP when the awards are announced next week on TNT. With the 4th pick of the 2017 NBA Draft, the Phoenix Suns select
Josh Jackson out of Kansas. He is the pick at number 4. Seth, we saw a guy who could turn it on offensively and defensively, kind of a specimen athlete, right?
And got better during the course of the season. It's funny, Kansas had the National Player of the Year in Frank Mason, but over the second half of the season, Mason was only the 2nd best player on his own team because Jackson really turned up the heat and showed a lot of competitiveness. His outside shooting, he's got a funky form, a little bit of a hitch in his shot, but his percentages got better. Not a real good free throw shooter. Had some incidents off the court that raised red flags, but if you talk to people around the program, and I can say from I don't know him as well as Smitty, but my own interactions with the kid, he seems a very thoughtful, mature kid. I was quite surprised to hear those reports. Hopefully that's not something that's going to be a problem down the line as he gets his hands on more money and more freedom, but in terms of his athletic maturity, he is off the charts. This is a very, very easy pick for Phoenix.
Smitty, let's break down his game. For those who haven't watched Jackson, and Phoenix fans should be pumped, maybe Boston fans a little upset. What do you see from Josh?
Well, you're going to get a chance to see a guy that compete on the defensive end and is ready to guard some of these wing guys. And one thing I would love to see is you got to see him in the open court. He is phenomenal. And then you got a guy that can play different positions. He's tough. He can play down there in the post. The next level for him is working on that jump shot. But you're talking about a guy that will compete, go out there with toughness. He's Detroit tough. The one thing about this kid is he will not be afraid to play against anybody. He will come out there and compete. The one thing I love about him, Kenny, is he wants to guard the best player. And you don't have a lot of young guys want to do that.
Well, I'll go on record right now just by looking at what's going on is that he's probably going to be the Rookie of the Year because of it's all about pick to me and where your opportunity. He's going to get the opportunity to play in an up-tempo team that is young probably going to lose a lot of games. His stats are going to be high, and he's going to be, especially down the stretch, when they're possibly not a playoff team, is going to get the start and play big minutes. So that leads to Rookie of the Year kind of candidate. So to me, the ability to get it up and down the floor, not really worrying about plays, he's got that opportunity.
And remember this, last year, most underrated rookie in the league, Marquise Chris, right? You got Devin Booker, who's already become a star. Eric Bledsoe, people really discounted Kenny how good he was. This is an interesting team now moving forward when you look at Phoenix, right?
Young, not a playoff team in the West, and that's why I said this guy's going to be able to put up big stats because he's going to get opportunity to play and not play with consequence. You know, there's a difference. You can play and not play with consequence. You're on the Boston Celtics, you mess up, there's consequences. You got to sit. There in Phoenix, you get to play through them.
The Sacramento Kings, guys, one of the more interesting teams in this draft. Obviously, the Boogie Cousins deal, they now are building, looking for new franchise faces. They've got this pick coming at number 5 and also number 10. A lot of people have thought that maybe they go small and big, get a De'Aaron Fox here and then go for a Zach Collins. They have a chance to make a big impact here.
They do. Jonathan Isaac, to me, would be a very compelling choice here. Again, you know, a guy who's going to be more of a long-term type of play. De'Aaron Fox would have an immediate impact in terms of the pace that they're able to play. So I think we're now getting to the part of the draft where we could get some surprises because there are no obvious choices. I think in these first 4, we pretty much knew how they were going to go. Right now is when the surprises would start. For me, I would go with Jonathan Isaac here because in today's NBA is a 6'11" guy, 7-footer, 3-and-D classic, but you can't go wrong with De'Aaron Fox.
The only problem with Isaac perhaps is that Gumby frame that he can kind of bring it to the table. He's a big dude, but when you look at, you know, this fit, you think about Buddy Hield, who started to come on a little bit and have a really, I think, a nice showing, guys, when he went to Sacramento. If I'm watching the way Monk played off of Fox and I'm Buddy Hield as a shooter, I got to feel pretty good about the opportunity to play with Fox if he comes in, right?
I think this pick is Fox, just because of all the other guys they have. They have some bigs in Willie Cauley-Stein, and I think they want to get up and down and run. You can't run without a point guard, and Buddy Hield's not a guy that's going to create his own shot. So I think Fox is the pick here for Sacramento.
Yeah, I have no idea. You know, over the years, the Sacramento Kings have kind of surprised us in a lot of areas. They surprised us with trades. You know, last year, none of the draft picks actually went to the combines to work out for them. They picked a guy, without actually seeing him play in their arena. So I'm not 100% sure what they're going to do here, and Vlade Divac and Vivek are going to do here, but I'm interested to see, and I'll wait and I'll evaluate after it happens.
Well, you know, when you look at where we go after here, this is, if it ends up being Fox, this is where it really opens up, right?
No, because it opened up right now.
You think so? I think this is a Fox pick here.
1 through 4, whatever you want to mix it, you know those were the 4. 5 on, I have no idea. And I don't even know if 5 on the teams know who they really want.
I'm with Smitty on 5. The question is, because Isaac is such a project and maybe not ready to help now, how much do certain teams care? You talk about Fitz, Kenny.
But did you think Willie Cauley-Stein was ready to help at that time? He's a project.
No,
so it's like
I hear
all of these guys, you never know when you're in Northern California. Don't count out anything right now.
If you're Orlando.
Casey, you have to understand it. I think Kenny's looking at Sacramento more than the player. He's not saying De'Aaron Fox can't play. Over the years, the last 2 or 3 years, Sacramento, you just don't know. So they could be going a direction.
Their best pick came in 1987, a guy named Kenny Smith.
Did it.
After that,
by the way,
was out of the way.
30
years ago. Happy 30.
30 years ago, huh?
Do the math,
man. I still look the same other than the flat top.
How many Tar Heels have been drafted so far?
Oh, a lot. Well, they will be.
How many Sparties are getting drafted in the first 2 rounds?
We'll have one. We'll have Justin Jackson.
Guess
and we'll have a couple in the second round, too.
Where'd Seth go?
Isaiah Hicks will be in the second round. Yeah, no question.
I'm the journalist on the desk. I don't know.
Right.
But it's going to be interesting. Like I said, I think it's Fox. The Fox, would be a pick. Fox. But I'm not 100% sure. Don't be surprised.
We are about to find out who's at number 5. But first, we look back at who filled out the hand.
With the 5th overall pick in the 1987 NBA draft, the Seattle Supersonics selected Scottie Pippen out of Central Arkansas, an NAIA school at the time. Pippen was then flipped to the Chicago Bulls as part of a package that included Olden Polynice, in one of the most impactful draft day trades in league history. Although the 6'7" Pippen didn't make his first start until the playoffs of his rookie year, he was the perfect teammate and sidekick to Michael Jordan. Pip was a do-it-all wing who could bring the ball up the floor, shoot threes, and defend every position. Today, we talk a lot about stars who can play multiple positions, but Scotty was one of the first Swiss Army knife type of players who could truly do it all. With the 5th pick of the 2017 NBA Draft, the Sacramento Kings select
De'Aaron Fox is the pick at number 5. Woo! The first of what will be 3 first-round picks we expect out of Kentucky. I'm wearing his colors. We saw him in the tournament look set. A lot of people put it into stock. That matchup against Lonzo Ball, he said, I wanted to shut him up, and he put 39 on him in the biggest game of the year.
Yeah, he won't be the last one, but no, he was sensational. He was sensational all season long. I mean, they really got up and down. He's just about the quickest college point guard that I've seen play in the last 10 or 15 years, certainly as a freshman, and I think that bodes well for the NBA. Again, it's much more of an open court game, gets up and down. His outside shooting is a big-time question mark, only 25% from 3. That's going to have to come up if he's going to want to be truly effective at that position. But again, there's one thing that he does exceptionally well, and that is push the basketball in the open court. So this team, this basketball team that picked him right now, just got a whole lot faster by giving him the ball.
Let me go to that, because for both of you, they talk about Fox. Now, he says he's a better shooter than people think, but they talk about the shooting. Does he remind you of a John Wall? Look, same school. Talking about a guy who gets up and down the floor and then learn to be a better shooter. Is he that kind of a player? Is he not as good? How do you see Fox?
Well, you know, I don't want to compare to John Wall. I don't see him
when
in
he
the
came
John
out.
Wall.
When he came out.
Speed-wise of pushing the basketball, I think De'Aaron Fox is totally different. The one thing I love about him is I love that you said he pushes the basketball, but I'm a guy that loves what he does defensively too. He's one of these throwback guys that pick up 94 feet. You don't see a lot of these great point guards willing to use the energy to pick up 94 feet. But one thing I loved about him is he got the basketball to bump. He let other guys develop. But in those 4 tournament games, he led them in scoring. So when it was time to be big on the offensive end, he's a gamer and he's a big-time player.
Kenny, a lot of talk about Kentucky because of the one-and-done factor. I mean, look, elephant in the room, we all talk about this. Their players have come out after spending time with Cal, and they have, most of them, become really good to great players at this level, including guys like Towns and Anthony Davis and Booker, we just mentioned. How do you look at this now that we've seen a few years of this, where Kentucky is going to churn out Monk, Adebayo, and now Fox here in the first round?
I mean, and not to be disparaging, there's some players that came out of there after one and done that weren't ready. You know, I'm not always saying that every guy coming out of any school or any place is ready after 1 year. There's been, I could give you a list of 4 or 5 guys that weren't ready from the same university. However, this guy here, the one thing that he has to really probably be cautious of is he's going to a young team. And being a point guard at a young team, I've had that experience. Smitty's had that experience. That's the most difficult part of learning how to be a pro. You learn how to be a college player, because we both went for 2 or more years. I went 4. I think, Smitty, you went 3. You went 4. But Smitty went 4. So you learn how to be a little bit more of a professional. But when you go to a team that's young in the NBA that's losing, learning how to be a professional is probably the biggest thing that De'Aaron Fox is going to have to learn on the fly. And that's what I'm a little bit nervous about being in Sacramento for him more than anything, is learning how to be a pro. And what I'm saying, and that's being on time, putting in the extra work, learning your weaknesses, learning your strengths, how to hide them and how to make them excel, how to plug in and turn on the power. Those are things that you learn as a veteran when you're on a good team, that when you're on a tough team like Sacramento, he's going to have a tough time.
Kenny, also to that is, I had vets that helped me. Does he have any vets in Sacramento that can help him right now? And so Kenny's point is that's going to be huge. And I think Sacramento, you got to find some guy that's going to be around him daily to teach him how to be a guy. And as a point guard, you got to learn how to say no, because there are a lot of guys who want the basketball.
But, you know, I have to say, to Casey's point, I think that's what Kentucky does exceptionally well. But I think Calipari is a great coach. But the reason why his guys do well in the league is because he's recruiting the best players in high school. So they come in at a level that, you know, a lot of other high school players are not. But the whole culture at Kentucky, to Kenny's point, is about the entirety of being a professional, what's involved in all of it, and playing under the most intense public and fan scrutiny and media scrutiny at Kentucky. So I think De'Aaron Fox, in terms of his mental makeup, is going to be as well prepared as a 19-year-old could be. But, I mean, Kenny's right. That's why I think we see, generally speaking, these rookies don't have an impact when they first come into the NBA. It is a huge leap from college to the pros.
Longest streaks of consecutive years with first-round picks. Now at 8 for Kentucky, going back to now tie that record in the mark from UCLA. And guys, the interesting thing now when you look at picks is this is where it becomes fascinating from an NBA side, because Kenny, Smitty, when you look at Orlando, no offense to Elfrid Payton, but I'm sure a lot of fans of the Magic feel like they need a change in the point guard position, but Fox is now gone. Do you go with the project in Isaac, or do you look now for the next point guard available?
Well, I think that they're another team that's young in the Eastern Conference. You have to just say who's your best available player in your eyes. If you're going to go point guard, there's a guy from NC State, Dennis Smith, who has a lot of Derrick Rose type abilities. Strong to the rim, athletic. But then you have John Isaac, who I've seen a lot of through his career, through in high school. Actually played high school basketball with my son at IMG. So I saw him probably play more than anything. I saw him practice and play. Saw him in the dorm room eat and sleep. So I've seen a lot of him. But his ability to handle the ball at that position, is special too for John Isaac.
We're going to find out where the Magic go, but we get a chance in a bit here to look back at the Magic that we've seen in the past at number 6.
With the 6th overall pick in the 1978 NBA draft, the Boston Celtics selected Larry Bird, even though the Indiana State star had said he would return to school for his senior season. Based on the rules at that time, Bird, who still had a 5th year of playing time left in college, was eligible for the draft since his original class was graduating in 1978. 5 teams passed on the forward, including his hometown Indiana Pacers, before Boston took Bird. Bird wound up agreeing to a 5-year deal with the Celtics in April of 1979 and ushering in the beginning of Larry Legend. With the 6th pick of the 2017 NBA Draft, the Orlando Magic select
Jonathan Isaac is the pick from Florida State, 6'10", forward, flashes on the glass at Florida State. He averaged 9.6 boards. This is a guy who's got a crazy amount of athletic ability, Seth.
Yeah, hopefully it's not too windy down there in Orlando, because at 6'11", 205, he might just blow right off the court. But he absolutely tantalizes you with his frame, his game. He's 1 wingspan, made 35% from three-point range. A little bit too deferential, I think, in terms of his offensive game. They had a couple of older players down at Florida State that were more equipped and a little bit more aggressive in terms of hunting their own shots. So that's maybe a question mark that he brings to the next level. More of a long-term play, but and you want to talk about upside, and I know the NBA draft is all about potential and upside. He has as much, if not more, upside than any player in this draft. So I think it's a gift to be able to get this guy at number 6. He might end up being the best player in this draft.
I love him. I'm watching him and knowing the coaching staff at Florida State is he has a skill set and has a high basketball IQ. He knows how to play. He just has to grow into his frame. It's going to take a couple years, but here's a guy I can see put it on the floor. He can shoot it. Defensively, he understands how to stunt, get back. He competes. He blocks shots. I like his upside. I like what I see in Isaac.
Kenny, you know him. I'm curious about the mental part of it, because that means so much for a young player. What did you like about Jonathan Isaac that people should know about him as a person?
I think he mentally he felt he was ready. When he was at IMG Academy with my son KJ, they were talking about, he was asking could he leave after IMG because he was already 19 years old. Yeah. So he was trying to test that rule in. But the one thing that, the strengths that he had that I looked at the board, it said rebounding and shot blocking. He didn't really do that at IMG. For me, he didn't, because they played a 1-3-1 defense. He played the top of the 1-3-1. So he was playing guards out front for ball movement. So I always envisioned him being a 3. And then when he went to Florida State, flipped up, they moved him back into the 3-4 position, and he became a shot blocker, more of a shot blocker and rebounder. I was like, wow, if they would have put him back there in high school, y'all might not have lost the game, because he rebounds and shot blocks better than I thought he did. But he does shoot the 3, the college 3, so he has to extend that range to see if he can shoot the NBA 3. He shot it well to me in high school, but his ball handling at his size is also a big attribute that probably people won't know. And And with Gooden and all of those young guys down there, he'll get time on the floor, and he won't be asked to do much, but I think he will deliver more than expected.
The Bulls in that trade, remember that they traded Jimmy Butler, for those of you just joining us. Levine Dunn also reports the 16th pick overall is going from Chicago to Minnesota. But this pick here, guys, when you look at it, they got their point guard, they got their shooting guard. Could this be Lauri Markkanen, the big man, to add to that mix in Chicago? Seems like, Seth, when you look at it, that's the fit. A lot of talk about him. Can he defend at the level enough to work that great shot?
Well, that's definitely a concern. I think he can defend at the rim once he's there. He's a big guy, and he can score inside a lot more than he showed enough of it in college. I think he'll be able to translate that. I think, defending a screen and roll behind the three-point line is going to be a challenge for him. That's why if you are looking for a big, you may want to go Zach Collins here as opposed to Markkanen. But in terms of a 7-footer, Smitty, he's got that classic European game from Finland. He is a great three-point shooter. In terms of hitting that pick and pop three, you can't do any better in this draft than Lauri Markkanen.
The other top picks right now at the top of the board, Malik Monk doesn't seem to maybe be a fit with Dunn and Levine, which with Dunn means that Tilakina probably not the guy, Dennis Smith not the guy, which leaves it could be a battle of the bigs, if you will, Markkanen or Zach Collins. Remember, this was part of that deal and a big part for the Bulls. We get a chance to find out about 7 in a bit. But first, we'll get a chance in a second to look back at number 7. A lot of great picks have been taken in this spot in the past. We're past that point where we've gotten some of the point guards out of the way. We wonder if we get the first big. In the next 10 picks, you could get 4 guys, 6'10", 6'11", or bigger in this draft. Will this be the first one that we get in this pick for Chicago as they get a chance to make their pick at number 7 again after the Butler trade? Butler going to Minnesota, and in return, they get Dunn and Levine, and this pick at 7. The Bulls also reportedly, which is not officially yet, sending that 16th pick the other way. And the Knicks are on deck, so we wait for that. And their point guards are opened up now. If they like Tilakina, who we know Phil seems to be obsessed with, this is setting up well for him because he's not going to be a point guard here.
Well, I have no idea who's Phil obsessed with. I really don't, because there's certain guys that I would be obsessed with that he's not. So hopefully, the Knicks, I'm a New Yorker. I just want a guy who can play. Even though I never played with the Knicks, I've always been a Knicks fan. Give me a guy who can play. I want to come to Madison Square Garden and cheer my home team on.
Game 7, when John was shooting all those shots, if you're a Knicks fan, could you have just stopped them from shooting? Yeah,
no,
would have helped me out. Would have helped out.
Remember, I was on the court.
No, that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
That's why I'm
asking. I was like, shoot it, John.
Shoot
it,
Mr. Knicks fan.
I was like, swing it to John. Swing it to John.
He's open.
Well, that hence the irony. We'll discuss that during the break. In the meantime, we get a chance to wait for number 7. The commissioner has the pick. We await whether or not the Bulls will end up going with a big in Markkanen at Arizona, or ironically going out west as well, Gonzaga, who had a Zach Collins. And Seth, the interesting thing about Collins, did not start with the Zags this past year.
All season long, and really had that one great game. Now, he played well throughout the course of the year, but he played big in a big spot. Played well against top competition in those last 3 games in the NCAA tournament. So one thing you wonder about him is, he's playing in the West Coast Conference. He's not playing against the elite of the elite in college basketball. Showed at the Final Four he's capable of doing that.
We look back at number 7s in the past.
With the 7th pick in the 2009 NBA Draft, the Golden State Warriors select Stephen Curry from Davidson College.
Immediately changing the fortunes of a franchise that had reached the playoffs just 5 times in the previous 30 seasons. It's a surprise Curry was even around at 7, since Minnesota desperately needed a point guard and were picking 5 and 6 in the 2009 draft. But Wolves GM David Kahn chose Ricky Rubio 5th and then Johnny Flynn 6th, leaving Steph to the Dubs. All Curry has done is change the way basketball is played, not just at the NBA level, but in college, high school, and internationally. The baby-faced assassin is perhaps the greatest three-point shooter in league history, won back-to-back MVPs, and led the Warriors to 3 straight NBA Finals.
Pick number 7 is Lauri Lauri Markkanen out of Arizona, 42% from three, the most threes in college ever from a guy 7 feet or more. We may see more of that with the way that the NBA is changing. When you look at Markkanen from a pick and pop standpoint, this is a dream for an NBA fan to watch, right?
Lethal, absolutely lethal in that game. You're talking about a strong 7-footer, by the way, 7 feet, 225 pounds, moves well, not really going to put it on the deck, but he can score in the post, he can score near the rim, he can defend at the rim, he can rebound the basketball. But you're right, Casey, that pick and pop, here's a guy who made 69 three-pointers this season. You got a lot of top shooting guards in college basketball didn't make that, didn't have a great last month or so of the season, kind of disappeared down the stretch in their loss against Xavier, which was disappointing, so that's a learning experience. Coming over from Finland, I think he has a real appreciation for how hard he has to work to get better. He's shown that work ethic. In today's NBA, a 7-footer who can shoot better than 40% from behind the three-point line, a very, very valuable asset.
Smitty, Nikola Mirotic is a restricted free agent. This is a guy who, whether he leaves or not now, would be sitting there looking like he's going to have a starting spot. They're clearly looking for the future. So what do you think about, as you look at the full package, done at the point, you've got Levine, and now adding Markkanen to this new mix here with the Bulls?
Well, I like Markkanen. I got a chance to call his game against Xavier, and I think he struggled because Xavier plays small ball. And I think the one thing about him is I looked at him and saw his skill set. He can handle the basketball. He can make plays. But everybody talks about his three-point shot, but he was comfortable down there on the block, and he used his side. As the one thing talking to Sean Miller about him, he said he's the most focused player he's ever had. He commits to in the gym of playing basketball. I think it's a good fit. He's not just a pick and pop guy. He's a physical guy that can put on the ball a little bit, but he also is comfortable down there on the block.
All right, the next pick goes to the New York Knicks. Now, we know this, at least we figure. The chances are probably 99% now that Porzingis is not going to get dealt, because every deal that was being discussed for Porzingis with every team was to try and get up to the number 3 or number 4 pick. So Porzingis is not. I'm ignoring him. Porzingis is not going to be moved, so Knicks fans could chill out with that.
He's not going to be moved right now.
Right now. This has to be Tikalina, right? This is a guy who wants to play in New York. Phil is a guy who wants a guy who's a triangle kind of point guard. This is a 6'5" guy who seems like he's set up that way.
I wouldn't say it has to be him. Dennis Smith is a guy that you can also pick at that pick too. I mean, you talk about the triangle. I don't know how much you're going to continue to run the triangle, but you have a guy in Dennis Smith that can go out there and bring some excitement to New York. Maybe it's Frank, but I look at Dennis Smith maybe that pick as well right now.
I like how you went Frank.
Yeah.
Not having to do it.
Tikalina.
Yeah, I think overall, you know, when you see, you know, for us, obviously a guy plays overseas, the only thing that comes back is highlights. You know, and a guy never misses in his highlights and never turns the ball over. So he looks great. I've got an opportunity to see Dennis Smith more. I wouldn't say who's better or worse, but I know I could take Dennis Smith at this position. He reminds me of what Derrick Rose kind of was in college at some point. Just didn't play with as good as players, or maybe have as good a coach at the time as Calipari is. But, you know, he has those qualities, you know, that he had, the explosiveness, the ability to get to the basket. And Seth, as you know, because I'm sure you watched that game when he went into Cameron Indoor Stadium and he put on an absolute show and against one of the premier basketball programs in the country and one of the best teams in the country, and showed them how good he could be. So that was NBA basketball. When I watched them against them in Cameron, I said, that's NBA basketball, and that guy's doing it. That's how you score in the NBA, and he did it.
We'll find out. Do the Knicks go international again? But first, we look back at number 8.
With the 8th pick in the 1964 NBA draft, the Knicks selected Willis Reed out of Grambling State. New York was coming off a rough year in which they went 22-58 and missed the playoffs for a 5th straight season. Reed, of course, captained NBA championships, including an historic Game 7 win over the Lakers in 1970. When he famously played on a severely injured hip.
Willis has hit on his first 2. The New York Knickerbockers have won the 1969-70 World Championship of Basketball.
With the 8th pick of the 2017 NBA Draft, the New York Knicks select
So a lot of movement going on right now. We've got a major trade that is going to be affecting this division heavily, but will it be as much as Frank Ntilikina as we see that Paul George could be on his way to the Celtics? We'll get to that in a second. For Ntilikina, this is a guy that can get down the floor. He's big, he's got a lot of size, and Phil Jackson seemed to be high into him, and so did Dallas. We bring in our own international expert, Scott Howard Cooper. Scott, give us, they're going to call him Frankie because no one's going to be able to pronounce his last name, even though it is Ntilikina. Give us a sense of what we should know about Frank.
Well, 18 years old and already has a very advanced basketball IQ. He's smart. He comes from a strong background. This is a guy, European scouts tell the story that he would ride his bike to practice last year. So New York is obviously going to be a bit of a transition, but the interesting part about this is that Ntilikina wanted to come to the Knicks at a time that you don't know what's going to happen with Carmelo Anthony. You don't know what's going to happen with Kristaps Porzingis. This is a guy who wanted to be here, and that's a real unique situation.
All right, thank you, Scott. And we continue to follow the picks and the deals. Rumors about a lot of talk with Porzingis. Rumors earlier, if you missed it, we talked about that Woj had out there that there is some talk as well with the Celtics and George. But when we look at Ntilikina or Ntilikina or Frank,
Ntilikina's
either way, I'm not going to defend, as a Knick guy through and through, I'm not going to defend anything Phil has done. But the one thing you can say is 2 years ago, the Porzingis move got blasted by everyone because they thought there were better players that we knew that he should have picked. And Porzingis has looked like he's as good as anyone in that draft. Does that give you any more of a sense of security that maybe that same group looks at Ntilikina and thinks he could be the next guy?
Well, Porzingis was a great pick, but the Knicks were still a terrible team. So it's really about how you utilize your tools. You know, you could be a hell of a plumber, but if you start banging the pipes with a hammer, you suck. So you got to use your tools correctly. So drafting the correct player, to me, is more about using your tools correctly when they're there, not looking at them and saying, wow, he still has potential. So Porzingis has a lot of potential. Congratulations. But the Knicks, as a team, didn't make the playoffs, and they should have been a playoff team. They have enough talent, if you look at the individual parts, to be a playoff team. So, no, the plumber is banging the pipes. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it doesn't help. You know, you need to take the monkey wrench out and use it correctly because we got leaks all over the place.
Right.
Still, you are making more holes in my pipes, and I don't think that, to me, that was also a mark of a good championship team or championship general manager or coach.
So the advice, by the way, would be for Frank to have a good exit interview.
Yes.
At the end of the season.
Yes, a good entrance
Apparently
interview.
that's the most important part of being a New York Knick is the exit interview.
I will say this, if you power rank from a Knick fan perspective, the things that have gone wrong, I think the Noah signing would be way above drafting Porzingis. If he's a plumber, I don't know what Noah has been, but the shingles on the house aren't looking so good based on that deal that he signed. What, $64 million was it?
Well, it was somewhere there. I mean, well, that's talent evaluation too.
Right.
Free agency, just like the draft pick. So we can't give him so much credit for Porzingis, and then everyone hates the Noah pick because it's the same thing. It's talent evaluation inside your organization. But it's about productivity, Steve, when they get there. That's the key. Productivity when they get there.
And you said something else. It's like, how are they going to play the Knicks? They don't have an identity right now. And I don't know this kid. Only saw him on tape. And the one thing for him is coming into this market. You know, sometimes you can have talent, but this New York market is totally different. You got to have some thick skin for what's going to go on in the media around here. Hopefully you get a chance to come in and he'll be an exciting player for the Knicks fans and also for Phil Jackson. But we shall see, because I don't know much about the kid right now other than what we see on videotape.
If you're Dallas, from what the two of you saw, did you like Yogi enough to go with Monk in this spot? Or do you go Smith? Because you would figure one of those two is going to be this pick.
Well, you know, give Yogi Ferrell a lot of credit because I think we talked about it in the back. This draft right here, there's some fantastic players, and we give them a lot of credit. But there's not a lot of separation from the 1 guy to the 20 guy. So Yogi Ferrell was a big-time player coming out of high school, played well in Indiana. He got an opportunity in Dallas, and he took advantage of it.
Would you go with the point guard or you go Monk?
I would probably go with Monk. I need shooting.
All right, we're going to look back first at who's gone number 9.
With the 9th pick in the 1998 NBA draft, the Milwaukee Bucks selected Dirk Nowitzki. That's right, the greatest stretch four in basketball history wasn't drafted by the Mavericks, but was instead acquired by the team in one of the most lopsided draft day deals in NBA history. The Mavs traded Robert Tractor Traylor, who they picked 6th overall in the 98 draft, to Milwaukee for the rights to this skinny German. Since then, Dirk has become the face of Mavericks basketball, leading the team to the playoffs 15 times, winning the 2007 NBA MVP, and elevating the franchise to its only NBA title 4 years later. With the 9th pick of the 2017 NBA draft, the Dallas Mavericks select
Dennis Smith out of NC State, 6'2" point guard, arguably the most explosive athlete in the entire draft despite tearing the ACL little over a year ago. I remember when the Knicks drafted Frederick Weiss and the next pick was Ron Artest, who played at St. John's. We never forgot it. There's going to be a lot of talk now about Tilakina and Dennis Smith and whether or not the Knicks made the right choice or whether or not Dallas got the better guy, Kenny.
Well, yeah, it's all up to wins for your team overall and fits. But Dennis Smith, you know, arguably could have been the number 1 or 2 pick. He, you know, with Markel Fultz and Dennis Smith were coming into college basketball, it really is no different. Both of them played on, you know, terrible teams in terms of college basketball rankings, but they both produce high numbers. You know, but you could argue that Dennis Smith did it in a tougher league. You know, he did it in the ACC, where every night he's seeing a different type of talented basketball team. So for me, you know, this can't be a bad pick. I think the guy has Derrick Rose qualities, you know, early on, how Derrick Rose looked, explosive to the basket, can create off the dribble. Jump shot is adequate enough to keep you honest, and this guy has talent. And like I said earlier, I've seen him do it in Cameron Indoor Stadium. If you do it there, you're doing it at one of the highest stages.
You know, one thing, Seth, watching him, big shot maker. Even though he's not a shooter, this is a guy who wanted the ball, shot clock winding down, taking big shots.
Well, I'm a fan of his ability. I'm certainly a fan of his physique, his athleticism, his aggressiveness when he chooses to play that way. It's interesting to me that there's been so much talk about Markel Fultz and his team not winning. Well, NC State won 4 games in the ACC last year. What do both those guys have in common, by the way? Their coaches both got fired at the end of the season. Now, I guess maybe Fultz being number 1, it's been more of a conversation. But what I've heard from NBA scouts about Dennis Smith is, unlike Fultz, he didn't necessarily bring it every game. He had games where he got frustrated, his effort wasn't there, his intensity wasn't there, not necessarily always making his teammates better. When the lights were on and the games were big, like that game in Cameron, he's got that top shelf in the closet that very few kids in this draft can reach. So it's nitpicking a little bit. He's a 19-year-old freshman. He's not a natural scorer. That worries me a little bit, Smitty, because like we said earlier, you got to be a point guard, you got to be a points guard. He's not a smooth shooter, laser, and I think he's going to have to develop that if he really wants to get high level in the NBA.
I think he shoots it well enough. I think one thing is you look at it, his mechanics, but I think also is sometimes you're in situations you can get frustrated. I did like that about Markel Fultz, that he didn't, but it was an ultimate competitor, Dennis Smith. I watched him in high school. He was one of the most feared guards coming out. He will go out there and compete, and I think he can be one of the best defensive guards, but he also a guy is points. He can put up points. It might not look good and smooth, but whatever he gets the job done, he can put up some points. You saw it against Duke. I saw it in high school and saw that him play with NC State. He can score.
The Sacramento Kings guys are on the clock. Yeah. Malik Monk available. His buddy De'Aaron Fox was taken. Our own Jared Greenberg caught up with De'Aaron Fox.
Well, Sacramento continues to be Kentucky West. Right? De'Aaron Fox.
They're competing with Phoenix for Kentucky West.
That's a good, well, there's a lot of you. There could be several different branches of it. De'Aaron Fox going to the Sacramento Kings, man. This is a team that's needed a point guard for a while. And you obviously got to know them a little bit. Did you feel like this was going to be the fit?
I kind of did. You know, my agent talked to me. A lot of people talked to me about it. And I felt like, you know, the fit would be good. Fit would be perfect. Talked to Scal, Willie, you know, a couple of Kentucky guys that are actually there. And, you know, I really liked the city when I visited, and the vibe was really good. And I just felt like, you know, they really wanted me there.
How much does it mean to know that a team not only wants you, but has the ability to plug you in right away and make you be a difference maker?
Oh, well, for me, I mean, it's just a blessing, you know, that God gave me this talent and the ability to play in the NBA. And, you know, a team, you know, sees that talent in me and has that trust and that confidence in me to come in and play right away. So, for me, I mean, this is extremely gratifying.
How much more of your game, obviously you want to work on it, but how much more that you've seen about being a pro has to be different or has to be better between now and the end of October?
I mean, strength, you got to be physical. This game is extremely physical. The speed is different. I feel like, the speed, it'll be sped up for me, but I feel like, me at my top speed, I feel like it won't be a problem, but it's a lot more physical. I know I'm going to have to get my body right.
DeMarcus Cousins give you any tips about Sacramento?
Nah, DeMarcus never told me about Sac, but I talked to him, but we like to keep it outside of basketball.
Cool, man. Well, congratulations, De'Aaron Fox going to the Kings.
Thank you.
All right, Jared, thank you. There is a trade. The 10th pick won't be going to the Kings. Portland. Now remember, Portland, interesting here. They had 3 first-round picks, but absolutely zero space to do anything financially because of Turner and Leonard and Crabbe. So they trade 15 and 20 to go move up to 10, and now it becomes, what do they do it for? Malik Monk, Zach Collins, probably across the board seem to be the best 2 on the board. But Monk makes no sense because they got C.J. McCollum. We saw Nurkic play well, Smitty. You think they go big here?
I think they go Zach Collins. I think he's a better fit than right now than Malik Monk going with Portland because of C.J. McCollum and Damian Lillard, and they have so much money tied up into their smalls. I think they go Zach Collins at this pick. He'll be a better fit than Malik Monk right now.
You like him with Nurkic?
I'm sorry?
You like him with Nurkic
Yeah,
together?
because Zach Collins can play outside, and he's a guy that can have a feel and play off another big. So I think it's Zach Collins at this pick.
And Zags going to Portland. I mean, does anything else make more sense?
That part of it makes sense. I would hope that's not too high a priority at this point in the NBA draft. But, Zach Collins was one of the most efficient players in the country. If you took his minutes and extrapolated to 40 minutes, he'd be among the nation's leaders, I think.
We're going to find out where Portland goes at 10 as they draft up. But we look back at those who became double digits.
Longevity is an apt description for a couple of players drafted 10th overall around the turn of the century. In 1998, the Boston Celtics selected Paul Pierce 10th. History called it quits at the end of the 2016-17 season after playing 19 campaigns. Jason Terry was the 10th overall pick in the 1999 NBA draft. Terry won the 2008-09 Sixth Man of the Year award, helped the Dallas Mavericks win a title in 2011, and just completed his 18th NBA season. 2001 saw the Celtics take Joe Johnson 10th. Johnson, who just completed his 16th season, is a 7-time All-Star and has appeared in 112 career playoff games. With the 10th pick of the 2017 NBA Draft, the Sacramento Kings select
Zach Collins out of Gonzaga, a guy who has moved up this board as much sense as probably anybody over the last year since the tournament. Showed the ability to knock down the 3, did a lot of things, but again, we saw it in the tourney probably more than during the season. Didn't start.
Yeah, that was part of the question. 2 things. First of all, he did not start for Gonzaga. He was their 6th man off the bench because they had Shemek Karnowski in the middle, and it was very hard to play those 2 guys together. And then the other question was, playing against lesser teams in the West Coast Conference, how would he do against the elite competition? He actually did better in those last 3 games in the NCAA tournament than he did during the regular season, and really could have come back to Gonzaga, maybe been a preseason first-team All-American. I think was quite surprised to even be in the position of entering the NBA draft. Took a roll of the dice, obviously going in the lottery was a smart thing to do. Highly efficient kid, and you know what? He's got a nasty streak in him that we saw in the Final Four. I think that's going to really help him at the next level. And he's joining a team in Portland and being paired with those 2 guards who I think he's going to fit with them quite well.
Kenny, I want to ask you about that. You played in the tournament. You talk about the medal you saw at Dennis Smith playing in that conference. What does it tell you about a player and his readiness for this level when you see him perform the way that Collins did in the tournament?
Well, I think the one thing that if you're a big, a lot of times I think he can shoot the 3, but I think it's more important, can you defend the 3? And can you be out there and defend guys who can take it off the dribble? And he's one of those guys who maybe have that versatility. So the NBA bigs now are not specialists as much as anymore. They need to have versatility if they want to be on the floor and get drafted high. You know, with the exception of, you know, the JaVale McGee's and DeAndre Jordans of the world, you know, most guys are now being both versatile enough to play 3, 4, or 5. And that's important for Portland and the way they play, and they definitely needed some size.
You know, the thing, Smitty, that you love too, he can get up and down the floor. We saw Nurkic's ability to kind of change things that way, and Dame loved playing with him. How good of a fit is Collins in this group in Portland?
You know, the first thing I want to say is people say he came off the bench in Gonzaga. Well, it wasn't a great fit playing with Karnowski. He was talented enough to start. He was talented enough to be their go-to guy, but it was a better fit for them. So watching him play is he's a player that needed to be featured, and he couldn't be featured starting. He has a chance because of his ability, and like you said, his nastiness, I saw it. He can play out, he can play at the mid-range, and he can play, he's athletic enough to play with guys above the rim. I like him because he can play without the basketball. He's going to have to do a lot of that with those guards and CJ and Damian Lillard.
All right, now interesting coming up here at 11 because we saw a couple of trades before, guys, we got here. The Laker deal, obviously, with Brooklyn, Lopez and Mozgov and Russell going the other way. But there was also that deal down by us in the ATL where Dwight Howard was on the move to Charlotte. Now, they've got Kemba Walker, they've got Batum, they've got MKG. I keep going back here. It's because I'm wearing their colors. Is Malik Monk a fit? Could you play Batum at the 3 and move Monk next to Kemba Walker? Or did they, again, maybe go with a bigger player here?
Well, you know, once you start getting to, you know, 11, 12 and on, you're either going to surprise people by being a starter or you're really a second unit guy. And, you know, and there's nothing wrong with that, you know, in your first coming into the NBA being a second unit guy. But because a lot of times you get more touches, you get more valuable touches being a second unit guy over the 82-game season. So, you know, yes, he could play at that position, but in a second unit. I think having guys like Walker and him together, Malik Monk, they'd be too small for a lot of teams. So, yeah, I think he could play, but a second unit, he'd be really valuable coming off that bench.
All right, I'm with Kenny. I think whether you start him or not, I think this is the pick for them. The reason why is Charlotte needs shooting. They got rid of Bellinelli. They never had a guy that can just flat out shoot the basketball to give some space to Kemba Walker. They got rid of Bellinelli. You have Nicholas Batum playing the 2. I think he's a better 3. So I think is that Malik Monk will be the pick whether he starts or not. They need a guy that can stretch the floor for Kemba Walker.
Something about Monk I was going to ask you, Seth. Yeah. 3D did a piece with him, and he was talking about that he was good. He's a point guard who Cal wanted to play the 2 because they had Fox. He's got some handles, and he's a guy who, I mean, is this the best shooter in the draft? We've seen Markkanen go. We know about Fultz. There are others. Is this your favorite shooter in the draft when you look at Monk?
He's the #1 heat check guy in the draft, and I will say for a guy who considers himself a point guard, I didn't see him making a lot of point guard type of plays, particularly in the half court. At Kentucky this year, they had some other guys who could handle the ball, not only Fox, but also Isaiah Briscoe. If Charlotte's looking for that type of a player, Monk is the best in that group. You've got Luke Kennard still out there. You've got Donovan Mitchell. Out of those 3, I think it's clear that Monk is the best player. You've got some front court type scorers from North Carolina who are also available right now. Justin Jackson from North Carolina, John Collins from Wake Forest. So, you know, it's kind of a muddle. But to me, to get Malik Monk at 11 is pretty good. And I like him as a second unit guy. I like him as a microwave coming off the bench and giving a jolt to their offense. I think that's a great role for him, especially as a rookie.
Can he be a Lou Williams maybe type at this level, an automatic offense guy as a 6th man? I mean, is he a guy who you think eventually develops into a star player?
You know, I don't know if he'll be a star, but the one thing about him is I think he'll be in the rotation. I think he has that type of ability, and we've shown that he's a guy that can get hot quickly, and he can create his own shot, and he can catch and shoot. So I think this is a good fit for Kemba Walker. This would help Kemba Walker and also the Charlotte Hornets. They have Dwight Howard.
But don't discredit the Tar Heel connection, you know, with Justin Jackson and Michael Jordan. You know, then the size, Michael Jordan likes size at that position. So there's a chance that Justin Jackson, who is a really good 3-point shooter, he could play the position at size, and you have Batum at size, and now you have rebounding from positions that typically you won't have rebounding from. So you'd have a 6'7" 2 guard and a 6'8" 3.
11, we're going to find out whether or not it is Monk or others. Let's look back at number 11s in the past.
We're going to go to the Commissioner, David Stern, right now for the next selection. Here's David.
The Indiana Pacers select Reggie Miller of UCLA.
Miller had that reputation as a great outside shooter in college.
What are you thinking right now?
It's great. I would just like to come in and play hard. It's just a pleasure to be picked, and I'm happy right now.
What do you think your chances might be, Reggie, of making an impact on that team and getting a chance to play?
Well, right now, I'm just a young rookie, and whatever the coaches want me to do, I'm going to do.
Here's a steal, though, by Reggie Miller. Reggie Miller lays it up and in.
When my name is called, I'm going to be ready to come in there and help them out.
Reggie Miller, that should be 4 points.
With the 11th pick of the 2017 NBA Draft, the Charlotte Hornets select
Malik Monk is the pick, the second Kentucky player here in the first 11 picks, the 6'3" guard. Seth, when you look at Monk and his play for Kentucky, this is a guy who is one of the leading scorers in the country. What did you see from him offensively?
Well, I saw a guy who, when he got going, you got out of his way because he's an incredible scorer with the basketball. 47 points against North Carolina. In that game, he was 8 for 12. But you know what? In their next game against Louisville, which they lost, he was 1 for 9 from three-point range, which isn't so much of a problem because that's going to happen. But my issue is that in that game, he had 3 rebounds and 1 assist. Had another game, 3 for 13 against Tennessee. That's the question that I have with Malik Monk, as opposed to someone like Justin Jackson, who I think Charlotte should have taken with this pick, quite frankly, because Justin Jackson to me is someone who can score a lot of points. He can do a lot of other things to help you win when he is not scoring. Malik Monk hasn't developed that part of his game, Smitty, but in terms of his size and his athleticism, he is an NBA level athlete. So I think he can develop that, but for whatever reason, we didn't really see much of that at Kentucky. If he wants to get a lot of minutes in the NBA in an 82-game season, there are going to be plenty of times where his shot's not going to be falling. He's got to have plan B, plan C, plan D, plan E. Right now, all I can see is a very good plan A, but only a plan A.
Well, I look at Justin Jackson as a guy 6'8", 6'7". I think Justin Jackson's a better player than Malik Monk when you start looking overall. But I think a better fit is Malik Monk right now, being able to catch and shoot and score the basketball and have that guy that's relentless on taking shots, being aggressive. I like Malik Monk with Kemba Walker because it's a guy that you know, whether he's 1 for 9, whether he's 9 for 9, he's taking shots and he's aggressive. And he showed against Carolina. He had 47 big ones. He can flat out score the basketball, and he wants and he hunts shots. So I think this is a great fit for the Charlotte, also for Kemba Walker. The way they're made up, they don't have guys with the attitude of going out there and hunt shots besides Kemba Walker. I think for Charlotte, this is a good pick.
Well, you know, development, again, you know, if it's the right pick, it's going to be the development of Malik Monk. He has extraordinary scoring ability. The funny thing is, if he would have had a end of year like he had a beginning of year, he came out in such a bonfire at the beginning. I think people started to look to see what he can't do. If he, you know, instead of he didn't progress into this.
Right.
He came out right away,
right,
giving numbers to everyone. So he was the big #1 kind of pick.
Ahead of Fox?
Everybody.
Sure.
He was ahead of everyone early. And then it was like, okay, well, let me see what he can't do. So it actually hurt him playing well early. But I think he's still scoring the basketball is the premium in the NBA. I haven't seen a guy get drafted yet that says he is the premier shot blocker in college basketball. That doesn't happen anymore. Those guys do not get drafted #1. If you got to put the ball in the basket, that becomes your defense. So if he learns how to score the same way he does in college against taller, bigger, faster players, then he is what they needed. That's the key. Can you score the basketball now is the #1 priority in NBA.
Yeah, look, priorities for the Pistons are to figure out. You guys are mentioning identity, and we talked about the lack of that with the Knicks. Does anybody know how to explain, as we wait for this Pistons pick, what their identity is right now? Who are the Pistons? Do we know?
Not really. I think they're still a tough-nosed basketball team. I think Van Gundy is a defensive-oriented coach, so we do have a little bit of a style. I don't know if he has all the pieces he wants. So getting a young player may help, but you still got a lot of young players on there. You have the question with Pope, what's going to happen there? You still had Stanley Johnson, who really hasn't developed to what they thought he could be right now, and is he going to develop into that position? You know, you have a lot of questions. Reggie Jackson coming back from injury, a lot of questions. Are they going to play big or small? Are they going to get rid of their bigs and start going small? We don't know.
Why did Ish Smith outplay Jackson, who was supposed to be the point guard?
Without question. So that's what we have to see.
With KCP, if he prices himself out, we could see a 2-guard here. As we look ahead to number 12, we look back at 12s of the past.
With the 12th pick in the 1972 NBA draft, the Milwaukee Bucks selected Julius Erving.
And there is Julius Erving. Look at that move behind the back. Oh!
It was a gamble of sorts for the Bucks, since Dr. J was already playing with the ABA's Virginia Squires and finished 5th in the league in scoring as a rookie. But the Bucks were coming off a 63-win season and had Kareem and Oscar on their roster, while the ABA was always seemingly on the verge of collapse. But Erving carried the new league for 5 seasons before he finally made his way to the NBA as a member of the Philadelphia 76ers.
The Doctor, a living legend.
With the 12th pick of the 2017 NBA draft, the Detroit Pistons select.
I like him.
The selection for the Pistons is Luke Kennard out of Duke. So where else would I go but down on the end? Seth Davis, take it away.
Kenny want to take this one. Interesting choice here between Kennard and Donovan Mitchell. Mitchell's the better athlete, better defender. Kennard the better pure shooter. And a 6'5 lefty, kind of unconventional, able to finish with both hands, though. 49% overall from the floor. You see the three-point shooting there, almost 44%. An excellent passer and a good ball handler, a good playmaker for his teammates. I think he's the type of player who can play well with other really good players. That's what he showed at Duke, one of the best players in the ACC. I think he's going to make a nice transition into the pros, kind of maybe a poor man's Devin Booker, just in terms of that smooth shooting ability, get him open, play off screen, play in space. He'll be able to score the basketball.
You guys both saw a lot of Kennard in the tournament. Smitty, I'll start with you. What'd you like?
Well, I like it that he can make shots, and that's the one thing for him is on a catch and shoot, he's pretty good, and he was a gamer for Duke. But one thing I struggle right now for this fit is you don't have a lot of guys that move the basketball around. Reggie Jackson is a scoring guard that really hasn't found out how to pass the basketball and have other guys help him. And then you have Drummond. He draws double teams, but he's not going to kick out. So you have him basically as a decoy. Unless you have him in the second unit with an Ish Smith. I like Luke Kennard. I don't like him with the Detroit Pistons.
Well,
they should have taken Justin Jackson.
No, I just think that Luke is proven that he could play against the best, against attributes that typically would shut guys like his skill set down. So you say, okay, if I put a guy like this on him, that typically would shut him down, and it did not in college basketball. He was still able to get his shot off. He was able to beat people off the dribble. He was able to kind of create space and draw fouls. So why wouldn't that translate at the next level? He's already proven that he could do it. So I think that it's a good pick. I think that he's going to be a really solid NBA player. I don't think he's going to have struggles scoring the basketball, but I think he will have struggles sometime in the pace of the game, maybe getting caught from three-point line to three-point line. And that might be the only problem, is straight out foot speed when you have to catch people on the break or catch up to people. Not when you're ahead of them, but when you have to catch up to them. And I think that's probably would be the only problem he'll have. But he's going to be able to score.
We go from a team who has questions about who they are to a team who has questions of who's going to be on the floor with Denver, because Gallinari already opts out. We've got questions about whether or not or what they're going to play Plumlee, who they traded for, who's going to play the point guard, does Moutier move, with all of that in their cap space. Here's our capologist, Eric Pincus. Eric, give us a sense of where the Nuggets are at financially now.
Well, the Nuggets have a ton of flexibility. They can keep Mason Plumlee. He's not very expensive, about $6 million, just to have the rights to negotiate. They can sign him for more, but he only takes up about $6 million while they're negotiating. So if they can use that cap room to either find a free agent or make a trade, I think this is a team. I just don't know if Emmanuel Moutier fits exactly what they're doing, because Nikola Jokic, who knew he was going to be so good? The Nuggets didn't. They're thrilled. They love the kid. And I don't know if Moutier really fits that. I think he's still a young player with potential. Maybe he's a guy that they could shop. I mean, they have somewhere in the neighborhood of $35 million of spending power. So this is a team that can do a lot. But really the question becomes, what happens with Danilo Gallinari? The team was on the verge of the playoffs. They were close. They didn't get there. Do they want to pay Gallinari as much as he can get? He can get like $35 million. I feel like that's too much. But, you know, it's up to the Nuggets. I think if you pay him around $15, $20 million, you might be okay. So they still have flexibility, even keeping Plumlee and Gallinari.
All right, appreciate it, Eric. Thank you. Now, as we await the next pick, the magic of Twitter, reportedly it's going to be a trade. Now, the trade that is being reported is the Denver Nuggets are going to move this pick to Utah. Utah will get the pick. They trade Trey Lyles and their number 24th pick to Denver. So Utah gets this pick. Denver trades the 13th pick out. So the Utah Jazz, a very interesting team, because one of their biggest questions is going to be who runs the point this year. Rumors about maybe George Hill going back to San Antonio. We know Pop loves him. Do they go get a point guard in the draft? The point guards are gone, so it'll be interesting to see where they go here, Kenny, as we await the pick for Utah.
Well, if it's Utah, I think that, you know, what they've shown this year, you know, you still have Dante Exum. You know, they still are guys who they're trying to get in, but it's just work hard. You go to Utah, you work hard.
We'll find out where the Jazz go next as we dance back in the past at number 13.
The number 13 might be considered an unlucky one, but in the NBA draft, that pick completely transformed a couple of franchises.
With the 13th pick in the 1996 NBA draft, the Charlotte Hornets select Kobe Bryant.
Although the Lakers didn't select Mamba, it was a draft day deal that secured the rights to the 17-year-old out of Lower Merion High School. Kobe Bean Bryant would go on to win 5 NBA titles, the 2008 MVP award, and become the 3rd leading scorer in NBA history. Not a bad return for Vlade Divac. 11 years before Bryant, with the 13th overall pick, the Jazz selected Karl Malone and his cringe-inducing suit. The power forward immediately clicked with point guard John Stockton, and the mailman would go on to win a pair of MVP trophies, lead the Jazz to 2 NBA Finals, and score the 2nd most points in NBA history. With the 13th pick of the 2017 NBA Draft, the Denver Nuggets select
Donovan Mitchell, the 6'2 guard out of Louisville. And Seth, that's where I'll go first, because the first thing people talk about with Mitchell is, can the size play? Is he a shooting guard or a combo guard at this level?
He's a basketball player, and he's a high-level athlete. He is an NBA-ready athlete. Pound for pound, as good of an athlete as you'll find in this draft. I like the way his three-point shooting improved from 25% as a freshman, 35 last season. Not great, but a lot better. It shows you he knows how to get better, has a growth mindset, the ability to get better. You know, again, I don't think that he's a point guard. I think he's more of a combo guard. If anything, he's more of a 2 than a 1. But he can make plays from the combo spot. I think there are other players who are bigger in John Collins and Justin Jackson able to score. But I think Donovan Mitchell, like I said, a high-level athlete. This draft, by the way, has to be like the least surprising draft that we've seen in many years. All these mock drafts, which are pretty much in line with what's happening tonight as well.
So far, by the way, you talk about the athleticism. He posted not much about the combine, but when you look at the no-step vertical of 36.5 for a guy that size, it's a pretty big deal. For those of you who are just getting in now, this was supposed to be Denver's pick. They end up moving the 13th pick. They'll get Trey Lyles and the 24th pick from Utah. When you look at Mitchell, you guys both saw him in the tournament. What'd you like, Smitty?
Well, what I like about him is he comes out and he is one of those guys that you look into the sideline and the coach said, I need you to do this. And he came out and he played bigger. I'm with you, Seth. I don't think he's nowhere a point guard. He's more of a 2-3, a guy coming off. He's 6'3". He has a 6'11" wingspan. He can defend the basketball and he wants to, but he also can rebound and traffic for his size. He's just a good guy to have on your team, especially if he's going to Utah to go along with all those young guys. He brings a lot of toughness.
Well, I think the style of play that Louisville plays, you know, sometimes it's difficult to read some of the things that the guys are going to translate to in the NBA, because they don't play a lot of pick and roll. They pressure you and they try to force you into a style of play and play quicker. The NBA doesn't always do that. So if you go to a team that typically is going to slow it down and make you get into pick and roll and make decisions differently, sometimes you might have to make that adjustment. So I haven't seen the conventional NBA style of Donovan Mitchell yet, but his physical abilities would lead you to believe that he could play multiple positions. And again, that is a big, valuable asset in the NBA. Can you move over to the point? Can you slide over to the 2? And can you defend the 3? Because of his size, physically, he's probably able to do that. Maybe not his length, but his size physically, he probably could do that on certain nights and certain occasions.
You know, the interesting thing about Utah as we talk about them and this pick is the big elephant in the room is Gordon Hayward and what's going to happen with him. And does he go to Brad Stevens and end up there and bring that connection back? Does he take the extra year and the money to stay? That's going to change a lot of how we look at Utah, right? I mean, this is a major factor with this team heading into this year.
Well, if it wasn't about money, this is just my personal opinion.
Yeah.
If I was a player, I'm going to go with my college coach. I'm going to figure out a way to get to Boston because this is the guy who helped make me what I am. And they're a team that was one series away from being in an NBA Finals, and maybe I could help them. He's in that West where every year it just gets better and stronger. The East doesn't have the same ability. We saw how Cleveland danced through the Eastern Conference, and they typically going to do the same thing for years to come. We've seen the West get danced through, but you look at San Antonio and you look at some other teams, they're right behind them even though they dance through. So I don't see it. If I'm Hayward, I'm trying to get reunited, and it feels so good.
Only if it's not about money. Only if it's not about money.
No question.
It's usually about money, though.
Two Final Fours together. Guys, we look at the Heat and look ahead to their next pick. Erik Spoelstra, whether coach of the year or not, was just so fantastic last year after the bad start, battling back. People got on the Tyler Johnson deal at $50 million. He played really well. James Johnson stepped up. What's their need here? Where do you go? Seth, who's the top player on your board right now?
Justin Jackson. Yeah. I mean, I think he's the guy now. You gotta wonder why these teams aren't taking him, to be honest. I mean, the improvement that he showed, and I think maybe this goes to the kind of bias that we see against players who are just a little bit older. What is he, 21 years old, as if he's some grown man who's not going to get any better. So to me, he's the best player on the board. You got some other big guys who are out there. Bam Adebayo is out there. John Collins from Wake Forest.
You know who reminds me of?
Who's that?
Shane Battier. He has a lot of Shane Battier qualities where
probably better offensively,
offensively, but he can defend multiple positions, steady. He's going to be a 13, 14-year pro, and he's going to be able to start on a great team, and he's going to be able to learn your system. He's going to be able to come in and understand a system and understand a role right away, like Shane Battier did back in those days as a Blue Devil.
I think for me, this is perfect fit for Justin Jackson because I think he has a skill set that can come out there and be a big-time scorer in this league. But I think Miami Heat will help him because the way their culture will help him get to that level.
We'll see what happens. Winslow's still there off the injury. You've got some guards. Do they end up going with Justin Jackson at North Carolina? Or do we see Kentucky get their third of the first-round picks and a guy I know our buddy Rex Chapman loves in Idris or Bam, if you will, out of Bayou? Or the unicorn Harry Giles is out there, and he's going to go at some point here. Will it be lucky number 14? We'll look ahead as we get that pick from Miami in just a bit here with the Heat. Remember, we're giving you all the coverage of picks. We're also got our own capologist here in Eric Pincus. We got Scott Howard Cooper on the international players, and we've got you with a look back at number 14.
With the 14th pick in the 1983 NBA Draft, the Portland Trailblazers selected Clyde Drexler.
Your attention, please. Portland selects Clyde Drexler, University of Houston.
It was amazing the two-guard was passed over 13 times since he seemingly had a ready-made NBA game. He was 6'7", athletic, played solid defense, and could really jump. Although the Clyde played sparingly his first year in the NBA, the Blazers were impressed with the rookie and knew they had a long-term answer at shooting guard. So much so that they passed on another talented two-guard the following year during the NBA draft. Maybe you've heard of him. With the 14th pick of the 2017 NBA draft, the Miami Heat select
Bam Adebayo is the pick, 19 years old, 6'10", 250, and a freakish specimen in terms of size and athleticism, Seth.
Well, Bam Adebayo is a great post defender. You saw him playing out on a three-point shot there, finisher at the rim. I said it about 100 times during the course of the season. He hates rims, so he's a power player, power dunker. He is a player kind of from a bygone era. We don't see a lot of these types of players right now in the NBA. Not a whole lot of touch, 65% free throw shooter. He's going to have to get better in that regard. Terrific wingspan, 7'2" wingspan. He goes 6'10", 250. I'm not saying it's a bad pick. I'm just saying we don't see a lot of players like this doing great things in the NBA, certainly from an offensive standpoint. It's just not where the game is
so
now.
The foul of Bam?
What's that?
The foul of Bam is going to be in effect?
Yeah, it could be. It could very well be.
Well, here's the question. You got Hassan Whiteside, right?
Yes.
Protects the rim, does a lot of these things, size. Where does Bam fit? Is he a 4 for them? I mean, did they see him next?
He will be a backup center or a 4. You know, they don't have size, and you know what he is. He's a bigger, newer version of Adonis Haslam.
Okay.
So they're trying to get that
good
toughness.
Career there.
Yeah, that toughness that he brought to this team. I think Bam can bring to Miami. I think that's what they were looking at. You know, Adonis is in his last years, can kind of school him into that role and spoon him in, and I think that's what they were looking for.
Yeah, I'm with you, Kenny. I look at him as like a Udon, as a Tristan Thompson. The guy's going to protect the rim, rebound the basketball.
Well, if he's Tristan,
coming off the bench for them because they have a Whiteside. So it's a nice pick. I like him. I just like Justin Jackson a little bit more at that pick.
Well, I think be surprised if the Portland Trailblazers didn't take him because of the size. You know, they're small in the backcourt, and they could get, you know, when they...
You saying Justin Jackson?
Right, so they could get big in the backcourt, and they could have all the other threes, those guys with Harkless and all those other guys kind of play that multicultural kind of, multifaceted game all over the park. I said multicultural.
All right, now you guys can continue
Say that again, Kenny. Multifaceted.
You guys can keep tweeting us along the way with our polls. I got a poll for the panel. 2 hours and 8 minutes, no commercials in these seats. Who has to pee?
Oh, we all have to use the restroom. When you hey, listen, I'm 50 years old, man.
I need a nap.
When you hit 50, yo, it's not when do you have to go? It's you have to go often. Right. You just got to go often.
We're going in size order, and I'm first. First pick, Markelle Fultz. Lonzo Ball at 2 to the Los Angeles Lakers. Dan LeVar happy to be uniting with Magic Johnson. As the crying continues, the drafting goes on, and the peeing begins. We'll see you in a bit. Barkley.
Canada, check this out. More cities and more restaurants now offer food delivery, exclusively through skipthedishes.com or the Skip the Dishes app. Choose from hundreds of local restaurants or national chains. Just place your order with Skip the Dishes. Then watch live GPS so you'll know exactly when your food arrives. Skip the Dishes is easy, convenient, and free to use. Find out if Skip the Dishes is available in your area. Go to skipthedishes.com today. Get $7 off your first delivery with promo code SKIP.
Hi, I'm Christine McGee from Sleep Country. Wouldn't it be nice to have one pillow that can be adjusted to regulate your body temperature, plus cradles and supports your neck? Introducing Polar Tropic, our two-sided temperature regulating pillow.
The cool side features revolutionary ice yarn and cooling gel memory foam so you can stay asleep all night. Flip to the warm side and stay toasty with a cozy knit cover. The Polar Tropic pillow helps dissipate heat. Watch as a hot head lifts up from the cool side. In seconds, the Polar Tropic pillow returns to its natural cooling properties. Amazing! Now when you buy one Polar Tropic pillow, you can get a second one free. Simply go to bonuspillow.ca to get your free pillow promo code. Then take your code into any Sleep Country location to get your free Polar Tropic pillow. This limited time buy one get one free offer is only available in store. Simply redeem your coupon code at any Sleep Country location. So go online to bonuspillow.ca for your special buy one get one free coupon code.
Blind spots can make navigating certain driving situations rather tricky. Which is why the 2017 Kia Sorento has an available surround view monitor. The Jeep Grand Cherokee does not. Discover the tech-savvy Kia Sorento.
Monday at 9 Eastern. Find out who wins the Key MVP Defensive Player of the Year and more. Performance from Nicki Minaj and hosted by Drake. Monday at 9 p.m. Eastern on TNT. We look at number 15.
With the 15th pick in the 1996 NBA Draft, the Phoenix Suns select Steve Nash from the University of Santa Clara.
9 years after he was drafted, Steve Nash became the lowest selected MVP in league history. The point guard out of Santa Clara repeated the following year in 2006, while making the high-scoring Suns one of the most exciting teams of the 2000s. Two recent number 15 picks hope to join Nash as league MVP. Kawhi Leonard, no stranger to hardware, and the Bucks' Giannis Antetokounmpo have their sights set on the Maurice Podoloff Trophy in years to come. With the 15th pick of the 2017 NBA Draft, the Portland Trail Blazers select
Justin Jackson is the pick out of North Carolina. Well, Kenny salivates. Let's go to Seth and get his take on Justin Jackson. Why? Give us a sense of a guy who shouldn't fall in this far, right?
Well, you know, you can't, there's nothing that outrageous about it. I mean, it's about where he was projected to go. I may have picked him a couple of spots higher just because I think he has a lot of improving still yet to do. Again, we have this idea that just because a guy's 22 years old means he can't get better. Look how he got better in North Carolina. Started off as a 30% three-point shooter, 29 as a sophomore, went up to 37 this past year. Went from 10 to 12 to 18 points a game. His free throw shooting was better this year, and his mentality, his aggression. Remember, he could have been maybe a first-round pick last year, certainly could have come out into the draft, wanted to go back to North Carolina to get better. So he has that type of mindset. And for all you young kids out there, go on YouTube and check out George Iceman Gervin, because that's who this guy reminds me of. He can score behind the three-point line, at the rim, in between, floater, finger roll, and he's got a lot of room to get better. The mindset, he's proven that he can get better. Right now, in my view, he's the steal of the draft.
Now look, in Sacramento, Cauley-Stein started to play better down the stretch. You got Fox now at the point, Kenny. You got Hield, and now you got Jackson at the three. You talk about fit. I know you love the player. How does your player fit with Sacramento?
Well, I think Justin Jackson, just his size and his stature, able to create shots, defend multiple positions, doesn't need the ball to score. What I mean by that is he could just be a catch and shoot guy. So he doesn't have a guy where you have to just give him the ball, get out his way. So his ability to make things happen in so many different areas of the floor, and to be an imprint in so many different areas is going to be beneficial to any team.
Yeah, Kenny, I like him because what you said and Seth said, watching him, he's improved. He can go out there and he averaged close to 19 points and didn't have to be the focal point. But what I love is he still has room to improve. And yes, he was a 20th pick. He might have slipped, but he could end up being one of the top 5 players in this draft. There's not a lot of separation. Justin Jackson has been playing at a high level for a long time. This kid can play. He can flat out shoot the basketball, and he can do it efficiently. I like him. I like Justin Jackson.
All right, now here's the question for me, because this 16th pick, which Chicago has, it was reportedly part of the deal for Minnesota, although that's not on the board, so I guess Chicago still has it. Assuming that the Bulls do have this pick, when you look at how things have set up so far, and again, it was rumored that the 16th pick was part of this here, and I'm bringing it in live at Barclays. It is still showing us the Bulls pick. If it's Minnesota, okay, if it's Minnesota's pick, which we assume that it is here, you guys know that they're setting out with Jimmy Butler. You got Karl Anthony Towns. Would you guys like to see a John Collins? Do you go for a 4 here? Would you take a shot at the unicorn Harry Giles and wait some time to see what he is? Where are you guys going here?
TJ Leaf is not even an issue for me. Yeah, I think he's a terrific. I mean, TJ Leaf is similar to Justin Jackson, but he's got a lot more nasty in him, certainly coming in as a freshman. And he proved that he can score in a lot of ways. He proved he's a high-level rebounder, a tough kid, good defensive player, can pass the ball. He's a winner. You know, to me, I think he'd be a great pick at number 21.
There's so many different ways you can go. There's nothing wrong with Leaf. You can go John Collins. I think Jared Allen is a good fit for Minnesota because he's a guy that's like a center spot playing next to Towns, but there's so many different directions. I would say Minnesota, if I was picking right now, go Jared Allen.
They already got Jimmy Butler, right? So they get a win-win for their night, regardless of what they do, because their impact guy is already on the team. And as you said, Kenny, they proved to their fans that they are trying to take the next step forward. You're a T-Wolves fan. It's a good night.
Oh, it's a good night. You know, without question. You know, two guys reunited. Had his best career years when he was with Thibodeau. So if you're a Minnesota fan, you're saying we're trying to make the playoffs and we're going to go for it next year.
All right, we'll find out whether it'll be a guy like a John Collins or be a TJ Leaf, who doesn't get talked about enough because of Lonzo Ball and what he did at UCLA. Remember, this was a trade. The Bulls end up getting Jimmy Butler, but in the deal, they get the 7th pick. They give up pick number 16. Minnesota will draft at number 16 here. Where do the T-Wolves go on a night where they already reunited, as Kenny said, Tibbs and Jimmy Butler? And now the question becomes, at the point guard position, Rubio looks like he stays because you let go of Chris Dunn, I guess. They've tried to move Rubio a ton. He started to shoot the ball well at the end. Maybe he stays
actually
the
plays
point
better
guard.
with Jimmy Butler. So I don't know if it's any reason to move him because he plays now. He's with a guy who creates space for him that you can't leave, and you have space inside where you can't leave Cat Towns. So now he's able to kind of just be where before he's making plays for guys that aren't great shooters, and Levine and everyone else that's in the game. So now he actually plays better with a guy like Jimmy Butler.
And you don't need, could facilitate, don't need him to score. Minnesota's going to be a lot happier. Hopefully Tibbs looks a lot happier.
No,
on the sidelines.
Yeah,
Good
he
luck
looks
with
happy in the
that,
summertime.
right? Yeah.
When I see Tibbs in the summer, I'm like, you look like a different guy in the summertime.
Look rested, don't he?
Oh my God, he looks. I didn't recognize him like 3 times. I walked right by him. We were in the summertime. I'm walking by. He's like, Kenny. I'm like, you look happy. I don't know you. Like, I don't know who you are.
He's happier tonight.
No question.
All right, I'm in New York, so I'm thinking Dr. K at 16. Let's take a look back.
The Utah Jazz select John Stockton of Gonzaga University.
With the 16th pick in the 1984 NBA Draft, the Utah Jazz selected John Stockton. The choice was a surprising one, since not many heard of the 6'1" point guard out of Gonzaga. And the Jazz already had a floor general in Ricky Green. But Stockton learned from his time as a backup until his Hall of Fame career was jump-started with the arrival of Karl Malone, the Jazz first-round pick in 1985. The two developed a unique chemistry almost immediately. And Stockton to Malone became synonymous with the winning pick-and-roll basketball for 18 seasons in Salt Lake City. With the 16th pick of the 2017 NBA Draft, the Chicago Bulls select.
All right, the Bulls select Justin Patton out of Creighton. And Seth, I'll go to a conversation we had when we were in our little suite before we got to the draft. You said this could be the guy that everybody is shaking their head why they didn't draft him. Why might he be that kind of player?
Well, I know Kenny made the point earlier about the French guy, where you see highlights.
Tilakina?
Tilakina,
Yeah.
right. So you saw a highlight there of Justin Patton. There's a 7-foot, 230-pound center grabbing the ball, putting it behind his back in the open court and driving it and finishing it. So he has that type of upside. Here's a guy who is from Omaha, grew up going to Creighton games, came in so skinny and not physically prepared to play. They redshirted him to physically develop him, came into the season just kind of hoping to be a role player, and was quite evident early on that he was better than being a role player. Now, they ended up losing their point guard midway through the year with a bad knee injury, so things kind of fell apart. But the fact that he's being picked tonight in the first round is amazing. Now, he's going to be a really good player maybe for his 3rd team and his 5th coach. But in terms of the upside in this draft, you know, a quintessential guy who grew late and blossomed late. So even though he's 7 feet, he has the skills of a guard and a point guard, which is what he played before he had the big growth spurt. So I like this pick a lot. Again, I'm a big TJ Leaf guy.
It's all right.
You have to wonder about that, but I like Patton at this spot.
Well, I'm curious, Smitty, because to Seth's point about a guy who might need to take a while, it's got to help. You got Karl Anthony Towns here in Minnesota, so you're not going to start. You're not going to play much. You almost think like a quarterback who kind of waits in the wings, the Rodgers behind Favre kind of a thing. Does it help him to not have the pressure? He'll sit there and be and learn from a Karl Anthony Towns.
For him is watching him and doing his game is he grew into this center. but he was a wing guy. And I think what helped him was, in some ways, like you said, he missed his point guard, so he had to be more aggressive. He's a guy that has a lot of talent, but when you saw him in the tournament, they didn't have enough talent. The teams took him out because there wasn't a lot of guys around him. But if you watch him at his 7-foot frame, he can handle the basketball. He's just a little bit raw. I think it'll be a couple of years. It's a nice pick for Minnesota.
All right, let's find out what people are happy with and not so much, and whether or not on social networking they figured out how to spell Tila without accidentally, Trey, tweeting Tila Tequila. What do you have for us?
Yeah, the Tila Tequila tweets are really popping off right now, Casey, but of course people are talking about fashion. We actually got a great tweet from Travis Mines, who tweeted us this picture of Smitty's draft card from back in the day with, as he calls it, the bald fade straight from the city, but it wasn't all good, unfortunately, for the panel. Nick tweeted, Trey Kirby's jacket looks like my grandma's old couch. How dare you? But Kenny and Smitty, I got to know, when you're picking out your draft outfit, how much consideration are you putting into the fact that these pictures are going to live on forever? Because I might have botched it tonight.
That's a good question.
Well, that was one of my first thoughts. However, I do like the individual style. This is 2017. It's more about your individual style, your inner self. So I'm feeling your jacket right now. It does look like my grandmother's old couch, but it looks swaggy though. It looks fitted correctly, and so I'm messing with you with that jacket,
You
brother.
know, Trey, being around you, this is you. You are owning it. That's the one thing I like it. You are owning it, so it's a good look for you, Trey. But I
well,
wouldn't want that
Smitty,
at the
lucky
draft.
for me, I might be owning that, but I'm also owning a mint edition of your draft card right here.
Wow.
As soon as we wrap this up, I'm getting this thing signed up, gonna hang it up on the starter set. Should be a good time.
I wish you could have got a chance to see the shoes.
Now, I'll tell you this,
I had on
Trey.
Gators.
You had Gators. You had Gators.
Kenny.
My Detroit players.
You know, for some of us, the grandparents had plastic on their couches, so you don't get anything on it. So luckily, it's not exactly like mine, although I do like this style. We'll find out
Trey
more on the
owns it,
social
though.
media
Trey
side.
owns everything.
No,
He's
are you
comfortable.
kidding? Well, he's way cooler than we are.
Yes, for sure.
Except for Seth.
That's a low bar.
Except for Seth down there on the end. Kenny, we look at some of the picks that have been taken, and now we're in that upside portion. How much are you looking at when you sit here at this part of a draft? I want the guy who I think at some point can be the best player available.
Well, besides thinking about restroom breaks, the one thing I'm really thinking about is.
Well, thanks for reminding me,
you know, man.
him, and Smitty. I'm doing the
man.
MC Hammer parachute
Oh
fan
my
dance
gosh,
underneath the set.
this is tough, man. But I tell you right now, I can't stop thinking about it, Smitty. I'm dead serious.
You can go. I don't mind if you want to leave the deck.
one thing that no, man, stop. So the one thing that you really pay attention to now is you still play the course. You don't change up your thought process about if you need a need or the best player, because sometimes the best players are at 18, 20, 22, and we've seen that tremendously over the draft. You should do your homework. Don't get scared out of a pick. Don't get scared into a pick. Don't look at the things of, oh, this is a hometown guy. No, what was our need and our set out when we first came into this war room? And if you change that up now, that's when you botch it up.
Now, let's be fair and bring people in, and I've covered football. If you ever see football players, when they try and take their pads off, it takes like an hour. Hockey players, too. We are so connected. We are like RoboCop with all of the different contraptions that the last break we thought of peeing, and by the time we actually started to take the first wire out, we never had a chance. So I don't know if we have a chance. I'm just letting you know. No. I got an Arizona iced tea bottle underneath somewhere you can use.
I'm going to just say this, brother.
Wow.
There's been 3 on the set before, and it's done well in a lot of shows. So there will be 3 on the set when I go to the restroom. I'll leave it as that.
This is good television here.
We await the pick at number 17. The Milwaukee Bucks have that pick. An exciting year for them because Giannis Antetokounmpo was one of the big stars, Smitty, of all of basketball. Buck fans love the fit Jason Kidd has been. Brogdon's going to end up Rookie of the Year. Nice year for Milwaukee heading into 17 here.
You know what I love about Milwaukee, they have with their staff, with their general manager, they do their homework. They know how to pick guys that fit their system. Jason Kidd and those guys, Stacey Allman, Coach Gergerich, they do a nice job of being able to pick the guy that they want. And the one thing I think a lot of these NBA teams have to do do. You got to understand is and have confidence in your assistant coaches that you can develop. They're doing a nice job of developing these guys, getting them to up to speed to reach their potential. So I'm looking forward to who they're picking because I know they're looking at somebody that they can mold that fits their system.
Well, go ahead, Seth.
Well, it's a deep draft, and so you can still get quality players there. I mean, you've got T.J. Leaf still on the board, Jared Allen out of Texas, and Terrence Ferguson, who didn't play in the States. He's an American player. And Derek White is also out there. Semi Ojale from SMU. So you've got some guys who I think can score
from
in the front court.
Caleb Swanigan is still out there, too, from Purdue.
Wesley Iwundu, right? Another good player.
That's my sleeper.
He likes Iwundu. I'm not as big on Iwundu as Smitty.
One of the top 3 rookies last year in the NBA draft was in a second-round pick.
Yep, Brogdon. He's going to end up winning Rookie of the Year.
It's a great chance to win it.
Yes.
And so
that's going to be Josh Hart.
This is very important if you're a general manager and you're a staff to continue to stay the course. This is when you don't panic because this is when some of the best players, being drafted late sometimes makes the guy work harder. And it makes him have a chip on his shoulder that he wouldn't have had if he was picked number 9, and he might have been a little bit more content. But going there, and then you're going to a better team. So when you go to a better team, then you also have to go to the same type of mindset. So this could help someone.
All right, the Bucks at 17 will pick. So far, we've already seen a couple of trades, including the big one and the big thing of the night, Jimmy Butler on the move. As we move and look back at number 17.
The Milwaukee Bucks select Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Now that I get drafted in the NBA, for sure we're going to have a better life.
With the second pick in the 2014 NBA Draft, the Milwaukee Bucks select Jabari Parker. With the 10th pick in the 2016 NBA Draft, the Milwaukee Bucks select Thon Maker.
I had to take it really slow just so I can gather myself. Don't fall when you get to the stage.
With the 36th pick, the Milwaukee Bucks select Malcolm Brogdon.
With the 17th pick of the 2017 NBA Draft, the Milwaukee Bucks select.
What's that?
Excellent pick.
Yeah.
Guess what? They got longer.
All right, so DJ Wilson is the pick out of Michigan. And he's a guy I know you love, Smitty. You talked about the fact this is an underrated kid. And we saw in this tournament run, let's be fair, Walton Jr. was a guy we talked about a lot, but DJ Wilson was fantastic.
The only thing I don't like about him is he went to Michigan, Seth. But other than that, there's a kid that I looked in the draft. He fits right in with Milwaukee. You talking about Thon Maker, Giannis, Jabari Parker, guys with length. DJ Wilson is 6'10" with a wingspan that can cover ground, knows how to play offensively. One thing about him is he can shoot the basketball. You didn't get a chance to see a lot of it, and Michigan played a lot of 4 and 5, but he's a big-time basketball player, very efficient. This is a nice pick for the Milwaukee Bucks.
In today's one-and-done era, we see all these freshmen getting picked high in the draft. When DJ Wilson was a freshman in Michigan, he played 24 minutes total. Last year, as a sophomore, he averaged 7 minutes. He had some games where he scored a ton of points, and then he had some games where he disappeared for Michigan. It was a little bit surprising, frankly, when he put his name in the draft. I thought maybe he was just testing the waters, and to me, it's why the current system that's set up that allows these kids to test the waters works so well, because he obviously made a really good decision. He's got a lot of upside, but it's going to take him some time. I like T.J. Leaf better, but pretty good pick anyway.
Speaking of decisions, our own Kenny Smith, he is no Harry and Lloyd in Dumb and Dumber who just went on their way to Aspen. Kenny left, and he went and hit a bathroom. He's signing autographs in the stall now. We'll see in a minute.
They have it all: charisma, attitude, moves. But can you keep up with the pack?
I don't know. Is it powerful enough? Well, whatever it lacks in power, it definitely makes up for in weight.
Move out the way, little man. This is really what you want.
Is this an Asus ZenBook which packs unbelievable power in a super slim design?
It's practically unstoppable. Just like me.
Be unstoppable. The Asus ZenBook family with Intel Core processors. Thin, light, powerful, amazingly stylish.
There's something incredible about Canadians. It's why my family is proud to have brewed beer for this country for over 7 generations. So for Canada's 150th, we're rewarding the Canadians who make this country so special with our iconic red beer fridges. Nominate the great Canadian who inspires you at molsoncanadian.ca. Must be legal drinking age. No purchase necessary. Details at molsoncanadian.ca.
This is a story about you. It starts with your DNA, your 23 pairs of chromosomes that make you who you are. 23andme.ca is a genetic service where you receive personalized reports about your health, traits, and ancestry. See how your 23 pairs of chromosomes help tell the story of one incredible you. Order your kit today at 23andme.ca, not a substitute for medical advice.
Hey Canada, check this out. More cities and more restaurants now offer food delivery, exclusively through skipthedishes.com or the Skip the Dishes app. Choose from hundreds of local restaurants or national chains. Just place your order with Skip the Dishes. Then watch live GPS so you'll know exactly when your food arrives. Skip the Dishes is easy, convenient, and free to use.
Find out if Skip the Dishes is available in your area. Go to skipthedishes.com today. Get $7 off your first delivery with promo code SKIP.
Looking for a hotel that fits your budget? TripAdvisor now searches over 200 sites to find you the hotel you want at the lowest price. Grazie, Gino. Find a price that fits.
Opinion count the NBA awards. To vote for the nominee you think should receive each award, post the first and last name of that nominee and use the corresponding hashtag on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. Voting closes at midnight. Winners announced during our award day. Eastern. We the clock at 18 and look back at the
8 draft.
The Detroit select Dumars of McNeese State.
Although the Pistons were pretty good that year and already had Chuck Daly, Isaiah Thomas, and Bill Laimbeer, they were still a few years away from dominating the league and taking on the bad boys persona. But Joe D was a cerebral defender and smart decision maker who, along with Dennis Rodman, helped transform Detroit basketball into an intimidating and physical team that won back-to-back NBA championships in 1989 and 90. With the 18th pick of the 2017 NBA Draft, the Indiana Pacers select
TJ Leaf, the 6'10 forward out of UCLA. Seth, they got their man in Indiana. What did the Pacer fans getting?
A really, really good basketball player. I mean, everybody talking about Lauri Markkanen and his ability to stretch the three. Well, Markkanen shot 42% from three-point range. Leaf shot 47 from three-point range, 16 points, 8 rebounds a game, made 27 threes on the year, 2.5 rebounds. A winner. He's tough. He's a basketball player. I just think he's a terrific addition. I'm not saying he should have been top 5, top 10, but I think this is a tad low for him in this draft. I think the teams that passed on him in the middle of the first round are going to come to regret it.
I think we're pretty sure, Kenny, even though it hasn't happened yet, may not tonight now, that Paul George is going to be on some other team when we get to next. This is going to be a team that's building. How do you like TJ Leaf as one of those blocks now to build with?
Well, I'm not going to count on the fact that he's gone yet. But
okay.
Paul
you
George.
Think he'll be there?
I don't know. I'm not going to until it happens. I'm not going to count on it.
Okay.
But if you look at what TJ Leaf can do, he's a versatile three. He can play 3, 4, 5. And at some point in his career, he's going to play all those positions, and that's what the NBA is about. He has that ability. We'll see if playing with Lonzo Ball benefited him because of the great passing ability and the attention he drew, or he playing with Alonzo Ball benefited Alonzo Ball.
Right.
So we'll see which was more of the other. But both of those guys were impactful early on, especially early in the season for the UCLA Bruins and Steve Alford.
The Atlanta Hawks, already some changes. Obviously, Dwight Howard on the move. We saw that. They bring in Plumlee and a hefty contract in Miles. They get Marco Bellinelli. They shipped a couple of picks. So now they leave a bit. Do they go big here? Do you expect the Hawks to go with some size?
They have some few holes. They could go big. Also, they can go back up point guard. I mean, they need a wing. They need some shooting. Not sure if they're keeping Tim Hardaway or Paul Millsap. So they have a lot of different directions they can go.
And some decent options if you're looking to go big. John Collins from Wake Forest is still there. Jarrett Allen from Texas. I like Collins a little bit more. I think Allen maybe has some more natural physical ability, but didn't necessarily show a competitiveness, a hunger. A lot of scouts that I talked to about Jarrett Allen say they wonder how much does he really want to be good. So he showed you that. I think Collins showed it a little bit more consistently. And then, you know, Harry Giles, I do think we're getting to the point in the draft as someone who saw Harry Giles quite a bit in high school. You know, if Harry Giles was healthy, he may have been the first player picked tonight. So some decent front court options. I would go with John Collins.
And we should mention that earlier today, a lot of reports came out that Harry Giles' medicals, teams were at least optimistic looking at what they look like now. Now, look, we understand guys had a couple of surgeries, but there was some optimism of him raising in the draft. We'll see whether or not he ends up being the pick for the Atlanta Hawks as we look back at number 19.
The last time the Hawks had the 19th overall pick in the NBA draft, they selected Jeff Teague out of Wake Forest. The point guard helped the Hawks advance to the Eastern Conference Finals in 2015. The first time the franchise advanced past the second round of the playoffs since moving to Atlanta in 1968. Teague played 7 solid seasons for the Hawks, motion offense, and was named to the East All-Star team in 2015 before being traded to Indiana last summer. With the 19th pick of the 2017 NBA Draft, the Atlanta Hawks select
John, the pick at a. I don't want to put too. Let's get into it now. That first 4-game set that you and I did in studio, and Smitty, you called, we didn't see the aggression that the scouts were looking for from a guy who's got to hit the boards. Is the motor what you want to see, Seth, out of Collins?
Yeah, I don't think motor is the issue with him so much as his frame. And I think that defensively, he's going to get abused down low. But a lot of 20-year-old kids, he's actually 19, are going to get abused down low. I like guys, we're talking about Justin Jackson, talking about DJ Wilson. I like guys who have shown the ability to improve. There's a guy later in the draft who'll get picked at some point, probably in the second round, Ivan Rabb from California, did not improve from his freshman year to sophomore year. That would concern me. So for somebody like John Collins, he goes from averaging 7 points a game as a freshman to 19 as a sophomore, 10 rebounds, 60% from the floor. I think he has the ability to develop an NBA three-pointer. Didn't make any college threes, but he's shown that he has a nice touch. So I think he's a promising offensive player, but like just about every guy who's picked tonight, he's not going to have a huge offensive impact in the NBA next year.
And personal, what do you think of Collins, and how about the fit? A team that's definitely now forward-looking. Atlanta's not going to be a team that we expect to go try and win this year. To Kenny's point, some teams are, some aren't. How about as you move forward now, Collins is a piece with the Hawks?
I like his size. I like his footwork. Down on the low block, he can score the basketball. He can draw double teams. For me, it's him you get developed and being consistent. And I think, like Seth, seeing him on that defensive end, he struggled in that game I got a chance to call, but the one thing he could do was rebound the basketball and score. So for him, shape and also be a little bit more consistent.
All right, now as we get ready for number 20, one of the many trades we've already seen in this spot, as the Kings ended up getting an opportunity to get 15 and 20. Who moved up. Justin Jackson went 15. Very, very nice night already. When you look at De'Aaron Fox and you look at Jackson, we get a chance to go back and look at Justin Jackson and his conversation with Jared Greenberg.
Well, how about this? 30 years ago today, the Sacramento Kings take a guy out of the University of North Carolina. His name was Kenny Smith. 30 years later, the Sacramento Kings. Shout out to Kenny here on our.
I mean, he was one of the greats in North Carolina. Obviously, he was a great player in the NBA. You know, I got to talk to him a little bit this week, and you know, he's a great guy, and you know, hopefully I can catch up with him soon.
Kenny, yeah, next dinners, because he just got. I'm saying? No doubt.
He hasn't got his money yet.
Oh, he's got the money. He's got it. Once you get drafted, that means you got the money. Every parent and every relative that's sitting in the stands right now.
That money's already spent.
All the dinners for the relatives right now. No question about it. But I think, again, the versatility, what he brings to the table, and the ability to score without having the ball. You know, he could do things what Cedric Sabalas used to do. Back in. Just wait in the corner and knock. He can then play some pick and roll because he gets into the lane. But more importantly, he can defend when teams go small. When teams go into the small ball division, we can put him at the 3, put him at the 4, pull him at the 2, and you can play. And if you put him at the 2, he becomes a good rebounder. Put him at the 3, he can guard the stretch 3. The versatility that it might, but later on as his career is going to be super valuable a little bit to Tayshaun Prince as well. When he used to play with Detroit Pistons.
Great call.
That versatility that he has and was able to guard different plays. Ask Reggie Miller about that block. His ability to come down and do different things.
All right, so the Kings moved on. It is a new era. Buddy Hield. Now you've got Fox at the point. You got him. So
With the 20th overall pick in the 1996 NBA Draft, the Cleveland Cavaliers selected Zydrunas Ilgauskas. It's easy to forget about this 7'3" center out of Lithuania, since the 1996 Draft was one of the most stacked in NBA history, with players such as Allen Iverson, Kobe Bryant, Ray Allen, and Steve Nash. Certainly made his mark in Cleveland. He was just the 3rd Lithuanian to play in the NBA, behind Hall of Famers Šarūnas Marčiulionis and Arvydas Sabonis, and he made 2 All-Star teams. But Ilgauskas might be best remembered for being one of LeBron James's favorite teammates and helping the King reach his first NBA Finals in 2007. With the 20th pick of the 20th draft, the Portland Trailblazers select
pick for the Sacramento Kings, who end up trade with the Portland Trailblazers. Guys, when you look at Giles, Seth, 2 ACL tears, an MCL tear, all before he graduated high school.
First of all, my answer to everything you say to me from now on the rest of the night is going to be they should have taken Caleb Swanigan.
Okay.
So I'm officially in Biggie mode.
Okay.
Having said that, obviously we know about Giles' knee injuries. By the way, when he first injured his knee back in 2013, his left knee, he tore the ACL, MCL, and he tore a meniscus. That's a very serious injury. And then he did the right knee his first game in high school. So he went basically 2 years without playing a competitive game. And then he had it scoped at the beginning of his freshman year at Duke. And I'm not surprised, Casey, when you say that these NBA medical staffs were optimistic and encouraged when they were able to examine Harry Giles, because his issue, once he came back for Duke, was not physical. His issue was mental, understandably so. He had a lot on the line if he injured himself again as far as his future. But, he ends up averaging 4 points, 4 rebounds a game on the season, goes 12 for 24 from the foul line. Based on what he did, he wasn't even a decent college player. But people wondering, why did he come out? This is why he came out. He was a phenomenal high school player, and now he's a first-round draft pick, so he's got his 2 years, and he's got an early clock, and he's got some, the time to buy. If he went back to Duke and had another year like he just had, draft altogether, it's a risk to take him at 20. They should have taken Caleb Swanigan.
All right, well, look, Smitty, taking the other side, am I crazy to like what the Kings have done? You get Fox, you get Justin Jackson, who probably slipped a little bit, and now you take a shot at some upside with Giles?
Yeah, the upside with Harry Giles is when he was coming out of high school, they compared him to Chris Webber, and he was going to absolutely be the #1 pick. Unfortunately for him, he's had some injuries. But if he can gain some confidence and also get back, kid, you didn't see it at Duke because talking about athletic before the injury, unbelievable, huge hands. They're taking a chance that maybe he develops to what he was, that he was projected in high school. He is a very talented kid. He just had some injuries.
All right, the Oklahoma City Thunder pick next. Russell Westbrook was spending time eating Chinese food and not watching the finals. Just ask him according to Twitter. But he had a fantastic season. It's probably going to end up with an MVP at our award show, which, by the way, you can catch Monday, TNT, 9 p.m. Eastern time, cha-ching. Kenny, when you look at Oklahoma City, a lot of needs there. What do you see from, you talk about identity, what does does this team need to do to take that next step and get Russell some help?
Well, you know, I think you need guys who can make their own play. And if they can find a guy who can make his own play, even on the second unit, that would be big. Russell carries a hefty load. But I do want to go back to what talking about Giles, because I did have an opportunity to see him for a couple of years while he was in high school. And you talk about Chris Webber, you know, old school, you would say he was James Worthy. The kid was, without question, the best high school player that year that I had seen. All the guys that went ahead of him, he dominated them. I mean, I've watched him dominate guys that are going ahead of him. So you're getting a risk, but in the same thing, the reward is so much higher, because at the 20th pick, if he becomes a shade of what he was, then you've done your job. His ability to handle, and this is what he could do. He might be the only guy in NBA history to average 4 points and get drafted in the first round. So he's able to handle the basketball when he's healthy. He's able to shoot the mid-range jump shot. He defends, and he's able to get out on the break and create spacing. How many guys in the NBA could do all of those things? Not that many. And the ones that do are playing in all-star games. So this guy has an ability possibly to play in NBA all-star games if he has the blessings from above to be healthy. And I seen him, like I said, dominate 7 of those guys who got drafted ahead of him. I saw him play head-to-head in AAU and in high school basketball, and he dominated them.
All right, Mr. Sacramento King, I want to go back. I don't know what Sacramento does all the time, so we're not sure.
Yeah.
Now we can look back. You got Fox, you got Justin Jackson, and you got Giles. Done a nice job tonight, right?
They did a nice job. And power conference, power teams. They went Carolina, Duke, and Kentucky. And they were like, we're going to try to play it safe. These guys have proven themselves at the highest level this year. Those 3 teams have all proven themselves at the highest level. So it's going to be, it's difficult that you don't do well. So good job so far by Sacramento, and a good risk.
Oklahoma City, interesting roster, Smitty. Does Cantor stay there? You got Adams, who got paid $100 million. Oladipo sort of fit, maybe not. Do they bring back Taj? A lot of questions with this roster. What are you looking for? Do you go with a big man? There are a couple that are still remaining. Do you look at a Jared Allen
I think the need for OKC Thunder is three-point shooting.
Yeah.
They were 26, 27. You need three-point shooting. I don't know who they go with. They might go best available. But what their need is, they need three-point shooting surrounding Russell Westbrook.
That'll be interesting. Again, another guy you talked about before, who sort of international American player, went to Australia. He's one of those guys that a lot of people say, Seth, could be that guy that we're not talking about because we don't know him. He's got size, he can play defense, he's a shooter.
Right, but he went overseas and he played against grown men and he barely got in these games, you know, so I think that's kind of indicative of what he might face. Look, if they're looking for three-point shooting, Semi Ojeleye is right there. He's your Jay Crowder in this draft in terms of that body type of guy who can pick and pop. He's got some size on him, can score inside. A little bit of a tweener, but a good basketball player and an older guy. Do you go old and established, or do you go young
we're
with
about
potential?
to find out where OKC goes. We go back in the past.
With the 21st pick in the 2006 NBA draft, the Phoenix Suns selected Rajon Rondo. Since the Suns were already set at point guard with reigning 2-time MVP Steve Nash, Phoenix traded Rondo and Brian Grant's hefty contract to Boston for a future first-round pick. Although Rondo had an up-and-down rookie season in Beantown, his career was about to change. In the summer of 2007, the Celtics added Kevin Garnett and Ray Allen to a team that already had Paul Pierce. Together, the 4 stars helped the Celtics to the 2008 NBA Finals, where they knocked off the hated Lakers in 6 games. It was Boston's first title since 1986, the year Rajon Rondo was born. With the 21st pick of the 2017 NBA Draft, the Oklahoma City Thunder select
Terrence Ferguson is the pick, 6'7" shooting guard out of Australia. He played overseas for the Adelaide 36ers, was selected for the McDonald's All-American game, the Nike Hoop Summit. This is a guy who was looked at over here. Not elite length, guys, but nice size for a wing player at 6'7", as we get a chance to go to our own expert on all things international, Scott Howard Cooper. Scott, semi-international pick here with Ferguson. What are we looking at here for the pick for the Thunder?
Well, you're right, Casey. He is a big asterisk as an international pick because not only is this Terrence Ferguson returning to the United States, this is Terrence Ferguson returning to Oklahoma. He was born in Tulsa, moved to Dallas when he was in the 6th grade, and then ended up growing up in Dallas, supposed to go to the University of Arizona, and decided to go to Australia instead. A terrific shooter. I had one executive tell me he has the chance to be the surprise of the entire draft. He needs to learn to do other things, but as a stand-up shooter, as a guy that can hit shots, this is a big hit.
Go ahead, Kenny.
Well, again, we had a guy, Harry Giles, averaged 4 points a game, for 20th pick.
We went up.
Then a guy now in Australia averaged 5 points a game.
Yep.
You know, so NBA general managers don't always look at your body of work. And, you know, I'm not sure how you evaluate the potential of guys all the time. So 4 points, 5 points. How do you, Harry Giles, we understood. We saw what happened, his injury. You know, but here's Terrence Ferguson. We're not 100% sure how you come up with that evaluation. But I just know that coming into high school, he did have a hefty reputation. If he had gone to college and we could have seen what he could have done on the highest stages, we could have probably said, you know, the highlights that I saw coming from Australia, I couldn't even evaluate. Sometimes you look at the highlight and man, I've never seen that before. I have a tough time figuring them out yet.
Well, he played 15 minutes a game, so I'm not saying that he's better than the 5. But to your point, he didn't play. They didn't play him.
That's
so I have no idea what he is.
Also, we've had a lot of guys come over internationally that didn't play a lot either.
Yeah.
They've been selected extremely high. You saw the numbers from the kid taking Frank from New York.
Yeah.
Those numbers he wasn't impressive at all. It was, what, 6.5 points? He still went high. You can't go by average of numbers. Porzingis didn't have great numbers, what he turned out. You got a chance to see this kid. Let's see him develop. You can't just go by numbers.
I have a question.
Yes.
If you average 5 points a game at Michigan State your senior year, are you getting drafted?
That's senior year because of body work. But let's look at what
I'm
did
just
Frank.
saying, man.
But what did Frank average coming from?
That's my point. You average six points a game.
That's totally different.
Are you going to get drafted?
I think sometimes we look at players over here in the States and we give them a hard time because of their average, and we give a pass to international guys.
Right.
You got to go with scouts, what they see in guys and their talent.
Here's the other thing, just to add in.
Hey,
they must be going to practice.
Look,
they must be going to practice and evaluating because I can't evaluate that.
Well, here's the thing. Not being a GM, but some of these teams, to the point you made before, they're not looking to win now. They're looking for the future. If the Brooklyn Nets took a kid like this, isn't it more understandable than Oklahoma City, who's got to try and get better now?
The only thing I would say is that Oklahoma City has such a great track record of drafting great players. So I would give them a pass. If there was 4 other teams that would have made this pick, you know, not knowing, I would have not given it a pass. Now, Terrence Ferguson might turn out to be a great player. I just haven't seen him. So, and when you don't play, if you need a need right then, that's a tough pick to make. But his high school records, he was impressive.
He was a good high school player. He would have gone to the University of Arizona.
Right.
Couldn't get his academics in order, which is why he had to go overseas. He did shoot 39% from 3, so he showed that dimension, which wasn't what he was known for. I saw him some in high school, not a ton. I saw him at a USA basketball trials and then in a couple of AAU tournaments, and he looked like just a good, solid wing player. Not a polished offensive guy like a Jason Tatum, but you know, in that kind of vein. And let's be honest, we're at the point of the draft where anybody who's going to be picked is not going to get a lot of minutes next year in the NBA. So the fact that he didn't get a lot of minutes in Australia is not so much of a dissuader for me, but they should have taken Caleb Swanigan. You got Caleb Swanigan and Josh Hart, 2 guys who dominated college basketball last year. We're probably going to slide into the second round.
I would disagree that the guy could get some minutes. Draymond Green went in the 30s.
You
can get minutes.
Wait a minute. Look behind you. Look at the logo that's on the screen behind you. Everybody going to get minutes with the Nets, right?
No, not necessarily.
Come on. Here's my question.
You know what the funny thing is?
Go ahead.
It's harder sometimes to get minutes on a bad team.
But who's in front of them?
Because when you're on a good team, you're winning games,
right?
And you have guys who can correct your errors,
right?
When you're on a losing team, sometimes you don't have guys who can correct your errors. And so you get a spot time where you play 5 or 6 games, and then they shut you down. Where here you can play, sometimes you're on a good team, you can play all year and make mistakes.
Now, I know you think I'm cheating. The Ferguson thing, I had no idea. It would make sense they just traded Brook Lopez for Jared Allen or some big like Swanigan to be the pick here, right?
And
it has to be a big
from
man,
UCLA
correct?
is out there right
Do you
there,
agree with that? Got to be a big man.
If they're smart, they'll take Swanigan.
Okay.
We're still in Brooklyn.
I don't think I'm cheating when Jared Allen gets on there.
Okay.
We'll find out who the pick is. The Nets as we move forward.
Brooklyn's
Back
in
at number
the house.
22.
With the 22nd pick in the 2002 NBA Draft, the Phoenix Suns selected Casey Jacobson. The 6'6" wing played only 4 seasons in the NBA, and the most memorable moment of his career was probably the night he was drafted.
Well, Casey, Charles said Craig Sager as a brother. Obviously, you're a much better player, but I saw you steal a kiss with your girlfriend, Brittany. Does she have a sister?
Oh, man. Sager is the only guy on television who can't get a date. It's almost impossible to be on TV all the time and not get women.
Man, have we strayed just a bit off course at this point?
With the 22nd pick of the 2017 NBA Draft, the Brooklyn Nets select.
They select Jarrett Allen in a pick that, look, it just seems to make sense. No offense to Timofey Mozgov, who I think will get time this year, but Jarrett Allen now goes to a team set where he has a legit opportunity to be maybe that next guy. Can he be that guy at this level in the middle? What do you see?
He definitely has a lot of potential. I mean, you want to talk about upside. Jarrett Allen has a lot of upside. When he played well for Texas this year, he played really well. And as the season went on, he got better. That's encouraging for me. Look at his numbers, are not going to blow you away. He had 13 and 8, 57% from the floor you like. I don't like 4.5 free throw attempts per game as a 7-footer who got a lot of time, 32 minutes a game. So, you know, his motor is a question. How much does he love the game is a question. All those things are in question. But, like I say, when he played well, he played really well. And so to me, to get him at this part of the draft, that's on all these mocks, I had him going a little bit higher than this. I think this is a very good pick for the Nets at this
guy
point.
Who's might be a little bit prone to turnovers we saw in college, but 1.6 blocks a game. He's got size, Smitty. For the Nets, obviously, they are very forward-thinking in terms of where they need to go. What did you see from Allen that you liked that maybe Brooklyn fans here at Barclays should be excited
Well, he has potential. He's 6'11", with a 7'5" wingspan. He has great time in blocking shots. So he's the type of player, offensively it's going to take a while, but defensively he can come in, can change some shots. And if you look at Brooklyn, this looks like a pick they're looking down for the future to have him develop in 2 or 3 years.
All right, the Jimmy Butler trade is now official, as Butler, we have known but now know officially, is on his way to rejoin Tibbs in Minnesota. They get a pick that turns into Justin Patton, a guy who now can sit and kind of wait in the wings a little bit. Levine and Dunn seemingly will be the backcourt for the Bulls next year, and Markkanen, at least right now, would certainly have what looks like to be a starting spot on that squad as well. Trey, give us a sense on the social media side. Are the fans of each side liking this deal, or do I have a feeling maybe that Minnesota fans are a little bit more excited than they are in Chicago?
Definitely seems like Minnesota fans are more excited, but like you mentioned, Casey, it's official now because as Bleacher Report points out, Jimmy Butler has updated his Instagram profile to read, "Tom Ball to Minnesota forever. See you later, Chicago." And speaking of see you later, Chicago, Jeremiah tweeted, "Dwayne Wade's left in Chicago looking like Will Smith at the end of the Fresh Prince series." But in reality, Dwayne Wade tweeted, "Damn, haha, my guy, hashtag more life." He's happy for his Marquette brethren. New era for the Bulls, new era for the Timberwolves. Maybe their first appearance in the playoffs since the Kevin Garnett era. That was a decade ago. Should be exciting.
All right, and the Wally Zerbiak era, don't forget. For our boy Wally out there.
Left in Chicago with some young guys.
Hey,
well,
$24 million.
In West Chicago, it wasn't
richer. We got more coming up from Barclays. Our live coverage continues of the NBA Draft presented by State Farm.
Fresh Prince of Chicago.
This portion of NBA TV Canada is brought to you by Raptors Home and Auto, provided by Aviva. Get a quote today at aviva.raptorshomeauto.com.
This is NBA TV Canada. That's right. We do it cold, very, very cold, and when we do it hot. Boom.
The only place for you to be is right here watching NBA TV Canada, because we got it going on.
Are you suffering from sinus congestion and allergies? Get fast relief with new My Pure Mist, the world's first handheld steam inhaler providing superior comfort naturally and quickly. Steam is a natural decongestant used by millions and is so effective that leading medical institutions recommend it. My Pure Mist uses patented CFE technology previously only available with hospital ventilators. Fine CFE mist penetrates deep into your sinuses, nose, and throat, providing superb relief from inflammation and congestion caused by allergies, sinus infections, the common cold, and flu. With My Pure Mist, you simply push the on button to get instant, germ-free steam without any presence of boiling water. It's cool to the touch and great for kids, too. With My Pure Mist, there's no preparation, no waiting, no cleanup, and you can conveniently use it anywhere, anytime. No wonder My Pure Mist gets more 5-star reviews than any other steam inhaler and has amazing reviews at major retailers.
My Pure Mist has changed my life. I can be outdoors, follow my passion of gardening, I can breathe, and I can finally sleep well.
Save time and money with My Pure Mist. No drug or nasal spray side effects, no uncomfortable neti pots, and no boiling water.
Many of my patients have told me that this is the most effective form of humidification that they've ever experienced.
It's really an amazing miracle machine for me, because there is nothing that comes close.
Try My Pure Mist risk-free for up to 60 days with free shipping. My Pure Mist is now available at Amazon and Bed Bath & Beyond stores. Why suffer when you can get fast, natural sinus relief with My Pure Mist?
Call 1-800-933-5921 now for free shipping, or go to mypuremist.ca. That's 1-800-933-5921 or mypuremist.ca.
Don't.
All right, the 2017 NBA awards are handed out live on TNT. Monday at 9 p.m. Eastern, find out who gets the Kia MVP Defensive Player of the Year and more. Performance for Nicki Minaj, hosted by Drake. It's Monday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 2017 NBA Awards on TNT. We look back at number 23.
A couple of Iron Men were taken with the 23rd pick in the NBA draft. AC Green was chosen by the Lakers in 1985 and would play in an NBA record 1,192 consecutive games from November 1986 through April 2001. The power forward played in 1,278 of a possible 1,281 games during his career. Tayshaun Prince was selected by the Pistons in 2002 and had a consecutive game streak of 496 games during the early part of his career. A streak that encompassed the entire 2003-2004 Pistons championship season. With the 23rd pick of the 2017 NBA draft, the Toronto Raptors select.
All right, so it is O.J. Anunoby. So when we look at this kid, a lot of people talking about him going higher in the draft. How much injuries and lack of maybe getting a chance to show everybody his skills maybe taken away from his draft side here?
Well, it's a shame because he was having a good season. He tore his ACL in January. All this talk about he was improving his offensive game. His three-point percentage actually dropped considerably from his freshman to his sophomore year, but he took a lot more threes as a sophomore. Therefore, he actually made 14 as opposed to 13 as a freshman, even though he had half the season. He is a high-level athlete. So defensively, he can step out into an NBA game right now. Offensively, I think he's going to be lost for a while, and it's all going to come down to, can he acquire those skills? Victor Oladipo, he drew a lot of comparisons. Another guy who came in kind of under the radar as a recruit and then really improved in college. It looked like he was on that trajectory when he got hurt. Obviously, he showed enough to still be a first-round draft pick, so he made the right decision to come out. But offensively, I think he is a long, long way away from being an effective NBA player.
Let's talk about the Toronto Raptors, because one of the more fascinating teams, guys, that we have, they'd like to bring Ibaka back, maybe P.J. Tucker, but really the big one is Kyle Lowry. And they were disputing reports. Somebody had a report out he didn't want to go back. Kyle Lowry said, I don't ever do this, but I'm coming out myself to say that's inaccurate. Then we saw Messiah Company come out and say the same thing. thing. Do you think Lowry goes back? If you're Toronto and you're running this team, are you giving him that huge max deal at his age, or are you letting him go, Smitty?
Well, I look at for them is what else they're going to have around him. I think if you have him and DeRozan, they've done a nice job of getting Toronto on the map. I think it comes down to right now from Masai, who else they can have around him. I don't know if I give him a max deal, but he's going to make a lot of money, whatever it may be. So I think the Toronto Raptors bring him back. How much do they do after that to bring guys around them? They need shooting, and they need guys that can pass the basketball and create other than those two guys.
Kenny, you're running this team. You see Kyle Lowry out there. Other teams are going to throw money at him. How are you handling it if you're Toronto?
Well, I better have a plan B because if he does leave, the intensity of what they have built kind of drops dramatically. So I better have a plan B. I would be in place for a plan B. And I would have a heart-to-heart with Kyle Lowry, you know, saying maybe we could figure out something to make sure that we're not depleted if you really care about this franchise. So you better have a plan B because maybe he's not on the outside looking in worth the max contract for that many years, but he is for that team. So if he is for that team, then he is.
You know, here's a question I think for everybody. One of the big stories over the last week is the whole situation with David Griffin and Dan Gilbert, and the fact that now people are believing it's a prerequisite. Not saying it's definitely going to happen, but that LeBron will go. Maybe go Clippers, maybe go Lakers, maybe he leaves after this season. Going back to your point of the Warriors aren't going anywhere. If LeBron's 1 year away from being gone, now you're Boston, you're making moves. If you're Toronto, aren't you more likely to keep pushing that pedal because the chances in the East might go up at some point here over the next year or two?
Well, you just have to look at your franchise and say, are we bringing in a player that makes us 2 notches better? Not 1 notch, not a single notch, but 2 notches better. And when they went after Ibaka, he's a guy that possibly could have made them 2 notches better. So those are the type of moves you have to make. If you wait on to figure out if LeBron is going to Los Angeles in some capacity, either team, or he's going to stay in Cleveland, you're going to be scratching your head all week. But if you just say, us as a franchise, we're getting better. We added, and we got more guys who can fit into our scheme under Casey, then you win.
Denver's got the next pick. Remember that trade. Trey Lyles and the 24th pick went to Denver. Utah ended up moving up in the draft. They ended up having an opportunity to go ahead and draft a player further up in the draft. So let's look at kind of, when you sit there and you look at Denver, one of the questions I have, and it goes back to college, a year ago, I'm wearing the Kentucky blue. Jamal Murray got a chance to play some point this year. I know that's where he wants to play. Did you look at him coming out of school as a guy you think could be a point guard at the NBA level, or is he more of a combo guard to you? Because they've got a situation with Moutier and Murray. They don't really know who their point guard is.
You're taking a guy who's just a natural-born scorer, puts the ball in the basket, and he's not a natural distributor, so you're taking away his superpowers. So, you know, I'm not saying he can't make plays for his teammates. You don't have to play point guard to make plays for your teammates. The best shooting guards are able to do that. So, you know, I think just at this point of the draft, you know, you're talking about need. You're talking about, are you looking short term or are you looking long term? And so, you know, there are plenty of guys who are available right now who can fill out your roster, who can be good practice players, who can pop in rotation here and there. But at this point of the draft, you're not getting someone who's going to dramatically change the fortunes of your franchise.
Either of you guys think Moutier is on this roster beginning next year, or you think they got to move him?
You know, I think they might move him, but I look at Denver right now is they're stacked with a lot of talent and a lot of young talent. And I like the direction they're going, the way Mike Malone has these guys playing together. So I think they take the best available right now.
I'd worry about the fact that Jameer at 35 was the best point guard on that team last year, wouldn't you?
I think Moutier could handle it. I honestly, I think he's going to be a pretty good pro. But, you know, you talk about what a point guard does. He's got to control the pace. Forget about distribution. Can he control the pace of the game to play the way you want to play? If you want to play fast, can he force it? Or can he want to play slow? Can he slow it down?
All right, we'll find out. Do they go point? I like Juwan Evans. I know he's small. I don't know anything about the pick. Maybe it's Caleb Swanigan to make Seth happy. We'll find out. Otherwise,
somebody take him.
A mistake. And you can get him on Twitter. At Seth Davis Hoops, right?
That's
All right,
correct.
we got that
Thanks,
correct. We await the next pick on a night that's already seen Jimmy Butler get on the move. We did not have a Porzingis deal. We did see Tila Kina get moved. I'll get that faster eventually. Frankie, he can't be Frank the Tank, but we got to have some kind of name with him.
Can't be Frenchie either.
No, he can't. He can't. No, we got maybe Frankie the Yank.
Frank the Baguette. He could be the Frenchie Tank.
No, they.
Frenchie Tank. That sounds intimidating.
This is what happens when you've been on a set. We still got hours to go.
No, y'all got hours.
This draft is
Kenny's
longer
getting
than
paid
March
by
Madness,
the hour. You know that. That's why he's here.
I would count the hours they traveled in Los Angeles.
You didn't ask enough questions before they sent you
I sure
here.
didn't, man. But I enjoy being here.
Let that be a lesson
because
to you.
I like being here when guys are doing this and being part of the entry.
Yeah.
I like to be there at the entry, not always at the exit, but I love to be at the entry point of greatness.
You know who doesn't like to be at the exit? Porzingis.
Oh, no question.
Too soon?
Boom. Not in New York.
Well,
You're in Brooklyn.
You looked at me like I was about to go somewhere that the FCC was going to take me off the air.
You're in Brooklyn. You're a New Yorker. Huh?
My potty mouth days on camera are over.
The most important thing is the exit interview.
Yeah,
I've learned nothing about the NBA this week. I learned that.
This pick was formerly of Utah, Trey Lyles, and number 24. This pick go to Denver. That was a deal that got Utah up in the draft. We've seen a couple of moves that were made. Portland and Sacramento made a deal, if you missed that, in which the Kings traded down from 10 to get 15 and 20. Zach Collins went to Portland. We get a chance to go back at number 24.
If you've got the 24th pick in the draft and you're looking for a point guard, you're in luck. Over the years, the pick has produced some pretty good floor generals, starting with Terry Porter, who was taken by Portland in 1985 and played in a pair of NBA Finals. Sam Cassell was picked by the Rockets in 1994 and won NBA titles his first 2 seasons in the league and then a third in his final season. Kyle Lowry was drafted by Memphis in 2006 and has played in 3 straight All-Star games. Derek Fisher was selected by the Lakers in 1996 and won 5 titles with Kobe Bryant, who was drafted 11 spots ahead of D-Fish in that loaded 1996 draft. With the 24th pick of the 2017 NBA Draft, the Utah Jazz select
Tyler Lydon is the pick out of Syracuse, and this is a guy that a lot of people talked about, maybe that he was a guy who would be underrated. I know you like Swanigan in this role, but maybe a guy who gets drafted late first round that is much better at the NBA level than where he's picked.
Okay, they should have drafted Caleb Swanigan. However, I like Tyler Lydon. He didn't have a bad sophomore season. He just didn't take the step forward that a lot of people, myself included, expected him to take based on what he showed you as a freshman. He had 67 blocks as a freshman playing in the center position of the 2-3 zone, so he showed some toughness. He's a 40% three-point shooter in his 2 years at Syracuse. As a 7-footer, you have to like that. Defensively, the Syracuse guys, it's always going to be a question because they play zone all the time. But, given where he was positioned coming into his sophomore season, looking ahead, this would surprise me that he would go this low because he was thought of that highly. Syracuse was very dysfunctional. They had some transfers coming in who jacked the ball up, so they didn't have a great year. He's a tantalizing prospect. He's no Caleb Swanigan, but at this point in the draft, a tantalizing prospect.
All right, we do have a move that is not yet announced, but it has been reported, the magic of Twitter, that Memphis is going to move into this spot for a later year second-round pick. They're going to take this over from Orlando. So we'll find out where the Grizzlies go when we come back. As the Memphis team that saw themselves get to the playoffs again, but not get to that next level. These kids at the next level. Josh Jackson and company to the NBA.
Do you wake up with aches and pains? Are your muscles sore and stiff? Is pain affecting your work and daily life? Then your life is about to change forever. Introducing Dr. Ho's Pain Therapy System, your solution to living with less pain. Developed by renowned pain specialist Dr. Michael Ho, the secret to the extraordinary results is the automodulated pain-relieving waves, clinically proven to relax muscles to relieve pain. Recommended by doctors and users everywhere. A 20-minute treatment helps relieve the pain of stress, fibromyalgia, tension headaches, migraines, neck pain, back pain, hip pain, shoulder tension, and joint pain in knees and hands. Pain related to sports injuries, accidents, and repetitive work. It's portable, safe, and effective. It's easy to use and feels so good, like a soothing massage. Get relief when you need it while saving you time and money. You could spend thousands on other treatments and costly pain pills and still suffer with pain. Until now. For this special offer, you get Dr. Ho's Pain Therapy System for just 4 easy payments of $64.99. You'll get Dr. Ho's Pain Therapy 4-pad system with 4 massage pads, the pad placement chart, and instructional DVD. But get this, call now and we'll drop a payment. You pay only 3 easy payments of $64.99. That's a 25% savings. Order today and get these soothing foot relief pads. Perfect for massaging your tired and sore feet. Great for boosting circulation. A $50 value, yours free. Wait, we'll also add the protective case and lightweight therapy travel bag. A $30 value included. Hold on. Act now and get 2 bonus extra large FlexTone pads and 4 bonus massage pads. A $40 value, yours for ordering now. This special promotion won't last forever and is backed by Dr. Ho's 30-day money-back guarantee. It's the perfect gift for yourself and loved ones. Don't wait. Call now.
Is that really her? I think it's her. What did she buy?
Hey, this is what you're looking for.
That's an Asus ZenBook, right? I've heard they're ultra powerful, razor thin, and super stylish. Only the best for the best, right? Wait, who are you again?
Discover the Asus ZenBook family with Intel Core processors. Instantly recognizable, even if you're not.
All right, the Orlando Magic on the clock, and while they will deal this pick to Memphis, earlier they did pick one of the best athletes in the draft. Jonathan Isaac caught up with our own Jared Greenberg.
6th pick in the 2017 NBA draft, Jonathan Isaac going to Orlando. And is there a guy who is better dressed for the occasion than Jonathan Isaac?
Not a chance.
Wow. You knew it was coming.
I didn't. I really didn't. When I picked this out, I had no idea where I was going. I had no idea I was going 30 seconds before the pick.
It's fate.
It's fate.
How does it feel to finally know that you know what your future is going to be, at least, you know, in the short term here, that you're going to Orlando, you're going to play for the Magic?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it feels great, but it's so hard to stay in the moment. You know, the second your name is called, the nervousness is gone. Now it's about what's next. So I'm just kind of focused on what I got to do to start my career, and that's putting bricks down to build a house.
Wow, that's very deep there. I like it, Jonathan. The new management in Orlando, they're known for liking guys that have length, like yourself. Yep. It kind of makes sense that they went after you and what you bring to the table.
I think it makes a lot of sense. You know, the guys that are there, the new guys that are there, they're not only used to picking, long guys. They used to turning programs around, and I just can't wait to get there.
Who are you most excited to play with on the Magic?
Gordon. I've never seen his athleticism up close.
Well, we wish you the best of luck. Thanks for joining us, man. Congratulations.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, thank you, guys. Very cool tweet coming in here. Magic announced Jonathan Isaac will wear number 1 on his jersey, his number at FSU, as we go back to number 25.
When you're picking in the mid to late 20s, you're pretty much just hoping for a guy who can be a solid role player on a good team. But occasionally there's that rare gem no team had high on its draft board, who didn't have the size or the athleticism to become a star in the NBA. The Mavericks drafted Mark Price 25th overall in 1986, and apparently didn't have the sweet shooting point guard high on their big board either, since they traded him to Cleveland the same day they drafted him. Price would go on to make 4 All-Star teams and lead the NBA in free throw percentage 3 times. With the 25th pick of the 2017 NBA Draft, the Orlando Magic select.
All right, so a change in the tide. I don't know if they faked out Memphis, but it's going to Philadelphia on this trade. So Philly will end up drafting. Let me get my glasses on and it's like a Wheel of the Fortune puzzle. Anzis Pashiknis, a center out of Spain. I see Scott Howard Cooper standing over there smiling, so it must mean that he knows more about him than I do. Scott?
Well, he may look familiar to a lot of people because he's a Latvian 7-footer, 7'2" actually, with a great shooting range. Little skinny, needs to prove that he can play some defense on the inside, and now comes from Spain. Does that sound like Kristaps Porzingis? It should, because he's a former teammate of Porzingis on the Latvian under-18 team. They got a lot in common. They're from the same age group. What you got to temper, though, is that he does not have the same skill level as Porzingis, but it is the same skill set. He's a guy that a lot of people liked here in the 20s. He's a guy that could have a really nice impact as a stretch four, even playing some center for the Sixers.
All right, thank you, Scott. Appreciate it. We'll get a look at where we are next in the draft, but we know the Sixers have had a big night, and our own Kristen Ludlow caught up with Brian Colangelo.
The pick is in.
Yeah.
The process continues. What did you see in Markelle that made it worth trading up to this #1 spot?
Well, we just feel like Markelle is really an ideal fit. The young core of players we're putting together, but Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons need a player like him to, help facilitate and make others on the floor better. He's a shooter. He's a scorer. He's a great combination fit, and we felt like it was the ideal fit in that mix. And then you add in players like Dario Saric, who is a Rookie of the Year candidate, along with Joel, and a Robert Covington, who's emerging as one of the great 3-and-D wings in the league. We just feel like we've got a nice thing going here, and to add a player, the talent level of Markelle, we feel it's like ideal fit.
He talked about having never been on a red carpet, maybe just a red rug. What did you like about Markelle, though, when you saw him, not just what he brings to the floor?
He's really a terrific young man. He came from a situation where he wasn't always the guy. He wasn't he had to fight and grind, to get where he is. And now to see a young man that was cut from his JV team or play JV basketball because he was cut from the varsity and now emerge as the #1 pick in the draft. We just think that it speaks to his character. It speaks to who he is as a player. And, we're going to think that he's going to be a great piece to add to our culture that we're developing here.
All right, Chris and Brian, thank you so much. How about this for Joel Embiid? According to Sixer fans, the new nickname, the Feds, Fultz, Embiid, Dario, Saric, and Simmons. The Feds are coming. So is the pick coming at number 26. On the clock, the Portland Trailblazers. We'll see where they go next, but let's take a minute and talk about where we are with the Philadelphia 76ers. We started the night, Markelle Fultz, not necessarily a surprise, but Kenny, whether he was the better fit or not, he is there. So now when you look at the Feds, Saric and Simmons and Embiid, hey, look, I'm going with it, pal.
Okay.
What do you see with this group? And don't forget Okafor, who's still there as well.
I mean, they just have a lot of young talent. They're a team that you're going to have to fear regardless if Fultz was there. We saw what they were doing prior to his arrival. When Embiid is in that lineup, the versatility that he brings, he's one of the first new age, old school big men. Meaning he can play with the block.
Or post up, right? Back
or he could go and play with his face in the basket. There hasn't been many guys that are doing that in the last 10 years that do both of those things, shoot threes and can post up. So he's the first new age big man hybrid, and he dominates because of that.
Seth, you saw Simmons play. A lot of talk, and this is one of the interesting things I think about this team. So much conversation about Fultz not winning in college. What was the conversation with Ben Simmons not winning in college? Had that terrible game at the end in the SEC tournament, and then that night or the next day announced he was coming out. You've seen these two players. What do you think about that combination now moving forward?
Well, look, they're both exceptionally talented. Ben Simmons is a great, versatile dribbler and passer for a guy of his size. His season at LSU was a disaster, and I put a lot more of that on him than I do in Fultz's case at Washington. He had some talent around him. He didn't come in with a great attitude, a little bit of a sense of entitlement. Hopefully he's grown up in Philadelphia, can move forward.
All right, Portland at 26. We await that. Go back to number 26.
The New York Knicks select Charlie Ward from Florida State University.
With the 26th pick in the 1994 NBA draft, the New York Knicks selected Charlie Ward. Although the 1993 Heisman Trophy winner out of Florida State had more success on the gridiron than on the hardwood while in college, Ward would eventually become a starter for a Knicks team that reached the playoffs in each of its first 6 seasons and reached the NBA Finals in 1994 and 1999. With the 26th pick of the 2017 NBA Draft, the Portland Trailblazers select...
Say it out loud with me. Caleb Swanigan.
Big A! Finally,
Go ahead.
the smartest team in the NBA, the Portland Trailblazers. Mazel tov. You got yourself a great player, a guy who knows how to improve. Look, he goes 6'9", 250 with a 7'3" wingspan. Don't tell me he can't defend the post. Don't tell me he can't play the power forward position. He went from being a 29% three-point shooter to a 45% three-point shooter. Had multiple games where he rebounded over 20 rebounds in a game, made 38 three-pointers from that position. We all know his personal story about the weight that he lost and the childhood that he had. This guy knows how to work, knows how to improve, learn the discipline of improving his body, getting into shape. He's going to be able to score from a variety of positions on the floor in the NBA. He's going to be able to rebound. And at this point in the draft, late in the first round, Caleb Swanigan is an absolute steal and a great story and a great kid.
You and I saw this watching it through the tournament. Double-double machine.
Yes.
Broke the record at something like 28 or 29 or something like that. This guy, the determination, dedication, his story to lose that weight, to get into the shape and to persevere, you kind of like that turning of the corner that he's made in his life and what he's done since.
Well, he puts you in the mind of a Zach Randolph. He signed with Michigan State and then he left to go to Purdue, so I got a chance to watch him. He's a player that can flat out score the basketball, but what he did, he's dedicated himself to be able to get in shape. He's dedicated himself to be able to knock down shots with range. He has a feel for the game and a toughness that I think will transfer over. He can flat out rebound at this level, and also he's a guy that can post, and now he can come out and step out and shoot the mid-range jumper.
And competition rose, and so did his game in the tournament.
He can't play. Seth likes him.
Oh, come on, man. Seth also
think,
likes Justin Jackson.
I think overall, yeah, he will be a force in the post in years to come. Maybe not in his first couple of years, but he will be a force because he's seasoned. He has a veteran-type game in college basketball. The things that he did in college basketball, they do translate into the NBA.
And he's got that one, right? That little extra thing you're looking for. Speaking of that thing we're looking for, a couple of sips of coffee. We'll step out. We'll come back. Here from Barclays, we'll find out where the Brooklyn Nets pick next at 27.
This is a story about you. It starts with your DNA, your 23 pairs of chromosomes that make you who you are. 23andme.ca is a genetic service where you receive personalized reports about your health, traits, and ancestry. See how your 23 pairs of chromosomes help tell the story of one incredible you. Order your kit today at 23andme.ca, not a substitute for medical advice.
A better back and a better body. Since 1981, that has been my passion. I created teeter hang-ups so people could live healthier, more active lives. I know what it's like to have back pain. When I found Inversion, it changed my life forever, and I believe it can change yours. I am proud to present the newest and best Teeter Hang-Ups. Teeter Hang-Ups is easy to use. Simply set it, lock it, recline, and relax. Just 3 to 5 minutes a day in your own home to help relieve back pain, relieve stress, improve posture, rejuvenate joint health, and build core strength.
The Teeter Hang-Ups offers relief from back pain, naturally targeting the source of the ache by relaxing tense muscles and providing decompression that can help to restore the nutrients to the discs, reduce nerve pressure, and realign the spine.
I can get on it, hang upside down for 10 or 15 minutes, get up, and my back pain is gone. It's amazing.
Instantly, I was feeling the effects from it. My lower back was feeling better in the mornings, and I just kind of felt rejuvenated getting off it every day.
Medical and scientific studies around the world have shown the benefits of inversion, and over 2 million people have put their trust in Teeter Hang-Ups for a better back and a better body. I'm over 72. and I feel great.
Only Teeter meets UL's tough consumer safety testing standard. No one else even comes close to Teeter quality and performance. Now you can try the latest Teeter hang-ups in your home for 30 days for only $14.95. We'll also include 2 of our most popular accessories, which add acupressure massage and deepens the lumbar stretch. Plus, you'll receive the Healthy Back and Core system. But that is not all. If you call now, we'll also upgrade your order to free expedited processing.
This thing is mine. You can't have it. It's one of my most valuable possessions. It really is.
Trust Teeter hang-ups for a better back, better body.
They have it all: charisma, attitude, moves. But can you keep up with the pack?
Before we even got to the draft, the moving and shaking began with this deal. The Lakers shedding the salary of Timofey Mozgov, moving D'Angelo Russell on, which we all thought was probably going to happen. Lonzo Ball ending up being picked second. And don't sleep on Brook Lopez, underrated player who they'll have for a year who could still play. As we rate the Brooklyn Nets pick at number 27, we were wondering when Brook Lopez, Smitty, was eventually going to get dealt. We were talking about it for 2 years. What did you think of that deal?
Well, I think obviously they had Lonzo Ball coming. They wanted to move D'Angelo Russell, and hopefully this helps him. He gets to come back to the New Jersey area. Brook Lopez is a center. Yes, he's not as mobile, but he shoots a lot of threes now. So I think it was great for both sides.
All right, we'll find out whether or not it's going to be another great pick for the Brooklyn Nets at 27 as we look back at 27s of the past.
Dennis Rodman may have been the 27th overall pick in 1986, but he finished his career as the best player from that draft class. Detroit drafted the Worm out of tiny southeast Oklahoma State University. And not only did he help the Pistons win 2 consecutive championships, but he also won back-to-back Defensive Player of the Year awards, as well as collecting multiple rebounding titles. Rodman also played a big part in the Bulls' second three-peat and eventually entered the Hall of Fame in 2011. With the 27th pick of the 2017 NBA Draft, the Brooklyn Nets select.
All right, so this pick will go to the Lakers, who will have back-to-back picks at 27 and 28. 6'9" with the footwork that people like. How about Kuzma out of Utah, Seth?
Well, it's interesting. You know, here's a guy who, in his 3 years at Utah, shot 32% from 3 as a freshman, 26 as a sophomore, and 32 as a junior. Went to the combine, had like a really good hour of three-point shooting, and became a first-round draft pick. So this might be a little bit of fool's gold there, but again, we're talking about at the end of the first round, a younger player, an older player. I like to see these guys get picked. They're not finished products, believe it or not, at the age of 21. He goes 6'9", 220, 7-foot wingspan, has some versatility. I don't think he's going to be able to knock down NBA three-pointers. If that's why you're drafting him, you've made a bad pick, but I do think he has some offensive versatility. Like I said, older, mature guy, a little bit more physically ready to contribute right now. So at this point, late in the first round, fundamentally sound pick.
And they may be looking for three-point shooting, maybe not here, elsewhere. Swaggy moving on, so he's going to go elsewhere. Said they realized that things were going to turn, so he's going to go his own direction. We know they go a different direction. Lonzo Ball now on this team. Jordan Clarkson a happy man because it looks like he's going to stay. How about the Lakers as they sit now? A lot still in question. Paul George, whether LeBron comes moving forward, but how about the Lakers as of right now?
Well, we keep going LeBron. You should get that LeBron in already.
Hey, every time you say LeBron, I don't need Trey over there to know. Every time you say LeBron.
Can I start with that, Smitty? Because LeBron James, let's start here.
Go ahead.
He is the most calculating general manager in the history of players.
Fair.
He's not going to go to a team that doesn't have talent enough to win an NBA championship around him.
Okay.
You know, when he went back to Cleveland, it wasn't that Cleveland team with the Boobie Gibsons of the world.
Right.
You know, this was a different
Kyrie.
team. This was Kyrie Irving.
Right. But Paul George will be there.
Well,
as a free agent.
That's what I'm saying. There's a lot got to happen as we
Haven't
wait
you
for
noticed
this
I have a
next pick.
crystal ball? I got Miss Cleo in my ear.
Let me see what you got. I know you're getting some picks early.
I got Miss Cleo in my ear. I got secrets over here.
I'll tell you what.
We don't need Woj on set. Come on.
I'll tell you one thing.
Go ahead.
That, you know, the Los Angeles Lakers, Magic Johnson he's just trying to assemble talent.
Yep.
He realizes that he wasn't talented enough in a lot of different positions. So He's got a marquee player, what people want to see now in Lonzo Ball.
They like Ingram.
Good batter and different.
You like Ingram?
I mean, I haven't seen enough of him last year. I could really tell in his true position. He's going to be a 3. He's going to get an opportunity to play at that position a lot more this year against starters. Different when you play against second unit dudes and when you play against guys who come to bring their lunch pail every night. Second unit dudes don't always have to do that. First unit guys, they bring their lunch pail every day. And it's a different playing against those type of guys. And we'll see. I know, Smitty, you were a 13, 14-year starter in your career. And when it was easier sometimes when you got off that bench, you're like, man, if I did this 7 years ago, I might have got 10 more years in the league.
For sure, Kenny, and that could have been a stretch forward now.
No doubt.
But I look at, like you said, the Lakers, I like the direction they're going. I like the talent they're acquiring, and I love Lonzo Ball being able to be the guy that pushed the pace right now.
All right, the Jazz are going to acquire this 28th pick from the Lakers. They will trade 30 and 42 to the Lakers. You got all that? We look back at 28.
Man. You know stuff is what happened.
40 years ago, with the final pick of the first round in the 1977 draft, the Los Angeles Lakers selected Norm Nixon.
Norm Nixon driving the lane, puts it up and in.
The point guard out of Duquesne University played 6 seasons with the Lakers and helped them win their first 2 titles of the 1980s. Nixon, who averaged 20 points in the 1982 title run, was a 2-time All-Star and finished his career with the San Diego Los Angeles Clippers. With the 28th pick of the 2017 NBA Draft, the Los Angeles Lakers select.
The Lakers select Tony Bradley out of North Carolina, so after getting Kuzma and adding some size there, they get even more from Tony Bradley, Seth. What'd you like that you saw from him, and are you surprised that he goes this high in the draft?
Well, you know what? When he went to the Combine and they measured his wingspan at 7'5",
that helps.
He made some money just with a tape measure there. He's only 19 years old. 6'10", 248. Again, like I said, with the wingspan. They had some pretty good front court talent in North Carolina this year. I read somewhere, Kenny. So, didn't get as many minutes as he would have at a different program. 7 points, 5 rebounds a game, 57% from the floor. So only took shots in close when he was open. Not an offensive juggernaut, but we're talking about the last pick here in the first round. A guy who's got a lot of upside and potential to get better. Very big, good size, good rebounder. Solid pick.
All right, Utah trades 30 and 42 to get here at 28. Now they've got Rudy Gobert. You saw a lot of Bradley. Do you like him as an NBA talent in the future? I know he's raw.
Well, it's potential. I honestly, though, I think if he would have stayed at the University of North Carolina, they would have had a great chance of winning another national championship one. Not saying that they don't or won't have it this year, but more importantly, he would have probably been a top 10 pick because he would have got those touches that Isaiah Hicks and Kennedy Meeks and all of those guys were getting. Those would have been his touches, and we could have seen more of what he could do. He's fortunate because it could have slipped to the second round, which is not a guaranteed position. But he's still in a guaranteed position. He's fortunate in that regard. But, for me, I would have wanted to have been a top 10 pick. I would have stayed another year. I would have been a top 10 pick. And we would have saw more of what he could do because he still would have had Joe Berry at the point. He would have had an experienced guy getting him the basketball. It would have been no pressure. Man, I would have wanted to be in the top 10. And I would have been walking across the stage right now. And I would have been putting my hat on, shaking Adam Silver's hand and saying, yo, Mom, Dad, and I'm just not getting me a house. I'm getting everybody a house.
and to your point, Miles Bridges, guy you know well, similar situation. He would have been drafted somewhere here, maybe late first round. But he has a chance to go play next year. He decided to stay at Michigan State. He might be a top 10 pick.
I saw him going in the middle of first round, but he wanted to stay. He said he wanted to stay and win a national championship and get better. I look at Tony Bradley, kind of Deontay Davis of Michigan State. Same as you said. Could have been a top 10 pick if he stayed. Obviously, the decision, lucky, he got guaranteed money. But what I saw from him last year, Tony Bradley, I was looking forward to seeing what could he do next year. But, hey, he got drafted, he got guaranteed money. Great situation for him.
Now, the Spurs sit at 29. They're kind of smart in case people haven't noticed.
Man, I would love to go to the San Antonio Spurs.
DeJounte Murray Last
29,
year,
baby,
hey,
go.
look, DeJounte Murray was taken late last year, right? Late first
he's
round,
gonna
early
play a
second
lot next year.
round.
He's
And
gonna
look how
play.
good he is. So it gives you an idea that maybe they draft a player here that becomes somebody soon.
29, I would have been circling that number if somebody said I'm 15. When I worked, I would have been rested and 2 nights before going to the Spurs. I wouldn't have said, anybody tell me to come on a workout, I would have been like, no, I got the Spurs coming up because I want to go there if I'm a young player because I'm going to develop and I might play right away. I might play and develop all at the same time under Popovich.
And win.
And win.
And win.
And win.
That's huge.
No way I would. There's no way I would have did a workout before the Spurs workout, and 2 days after I wouldn't have did one just in case they call me back.
Now, the irony is, if Murray had not left early, Markelle Fultz could have been his backcourt mate. And by the way, Marquise Chris would have been on that team. Maybe they would have avoided not getting there. LaMarcus Aldridge today came out and said, which I know is not shocking, that he wants to leave. The Spurs seemingly don't want him there.
I think it's mutual.
It's a little bit
I think
soft.
it's
A little bit. We saw some softy side in the playoffs down the stretch. How about Aldridge on the move?
Well, I just think it's mutual. I think LaMarcus Aldridge is, for the last year and a half, there's been rumblings that he's leaving. I think the San Antonio Spurs, it's just mutual. Wasn't a great fit. They thought it was. So now you try to get the best available. But if you're the Spurs, don't count them out at the 29th pick. Don't count them out with a trade. They're still going to be there.
You say best available. Go ahead, Seth.
Jordan Bell. Take Jordan Bell. I would love to see him in San Antonio. He's a guy who, especially as a late first-round pick, you know 1 or 2 things that he's going to do very well
Rebound.
in an NBA game. He's going to block shots, he's going to rebound, and he's going to defend. He can defend all 5 positions. And, he's a guy at this point in the draft, he's the best player on the board. So what I was doing with Caleb Swanigan, annoying everybody every time right now, is going to be they should have taken Jordan Bell because he is a freak athlete at 6'9" who knows who he is. And he's a better player right now than Tristan Thompson was on the night that he got drafted 4th by the Cleveland Cavaliers. Take Jordan Bell.
You know, one of the interesting things about Bell, watching him in the tournament a lot, there would be guys bigger sized under the basket, that ball would come, and he's one of those guys he's wrestling that ball away. He's got that aggression you're looking for from a guy who's a rebounder.
Well, you think of Big Ben when he was in Detroit. Ben Wallace being able to play undersized and put fear in people coming through the lane. This guy did that. Jordan Bell did that. It was funny because Jordan Bell played for me in high school in the AAU for a couple of tournaments.
I didn't know that.
So
How about that?
I used to have to drive to Long Beach and pick this dude up, or at least send my assistant coach with $50 in gas to go get him. But it just his energy and effort was incredible.
Kenny,
from a young age.
Since you know him, and he's a talent, I love him. But is he a good fit? That doesn't mean he's not a great player because he doesn't go to the Spurs. Is he a good fit for you for the San Antonio Spurs?
I think Pop could make him a good fit, but that wouldn't have been my first thought.
Right.
It wouldn't have been my first thought.
Same for me.
But Pop could make that happen because he would run offenses that only Jordan would be picking and rolling and only defending the right people. So it wouldn't have been my first thought process as Seth just did, but it.
But Pop, if they're losing Aldridge,
but with
though,
Pop, Aldridge is a scorer.
That's a scorer.
Right,
it's totally different.
And then you still have David Lee.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Kind of that skill
and I like
position.
Jordan, but I just don't know if.
I don't know that. I don't know.
If
all of a sudden you put him with Pop, man, you never know.
But I just want to think of him as a San Antonio Spur.
And you know what? The one thing that he can do probably that he didn't show as much of because he had pretty good guard play is he can handle the basketball off the dribble, off the rebound. So he can get in and push it and start your break at that size. But you can never turn down an animal.
No, you can't. You can't.
You know what I mean? If you're in the jungle, you need an animal.
And again, the Tristan Thompson comparison, I think, is edifying here because he is ahead of where Tristan was offensively on draft night. I think he showed that.
Tristan or Ben Wallace? Which one?
I think he's more Tristan.
Okay.
I don't know.
I just want to know what
Ben Wallace.
I just want to know what edifying means. Let's be honest.
You're not saying he's Ben Wallace, but
you didn't go to ACC school.
I look at Jordan Bell.
You know what I mean?
Blocking shots like a Ben Wallace. Tristan Thompson doesn't change shots.
Yeah.
No, please.
Then Ben Wallace changes shots.
No, look over here.
We're talking right now.
What is edifying?
You guys take a break. Smitty and I got
it. We're going to edify you, whatever that means.
Smitty and I got it. Don't worry about it.
Hold on.
Sorry, Casey. I'll dumb it down for you.
Well, when you're as good as the Spurs, you're always picking in the late round. And they have made some fine selections.
With the 28th pick, the San Antonio Spurs select Tony Parker, Beno Udrich, Thiago Splitter. With the 26th pick, George Hill. With the 29th pick, Corey Joseph.
This is Kyle Anderson taking 30th overall pick.
The San Antonio Spurs select DeJounte Murray.
With the 29th pick of the 2017 NBA Draft, the San Antonio Spurs select.
And what number are we
The
at?
Spurs at 29 select Derek White. Tell us about him. What do the Spurs fans need to know, Seth?
Well, do your research, because this guy is a heck of a story. He started off at an NAIA culinary school. So if he doesn't work out as a basketball player, he can make the team meal for all the players. But no, again, I love guys who can improve. He went from an NAIA school to Division II, University of Colorado Springs, transferred to the Buffaloes. Nobody was talking about him at all during the season as a potential first-round draft pick. Ends up averaging 18 points, 4 rebounds, 4.5 assists per game, 40% from 3, 81% free throw shooter. But what you like about him the most is his size, 6'5", 200. Not a great athlete, but good enough. A great story.
Watching him play, he reminds me of Shelvin Mack.
Yeah.
This is a guy that knows how to play.
Become a good player.
Become a good player. This is a good pick. And Kenny, he's going to the Spurs. So you look at he's going to develop. He doesn't have a shot. He's going to develop. I like watching him. He's a Shelvin Mack type of player to me. High basketball IQ, just knows how to play whatever position you put him in.
He's no Jordan Bell.
Right.
But he's a solid
you mentioned high IQ, so I called it up. I did due diligence. Let's see how close you get, Kenny. The definition of edifying is what?
The definition of edify is you have to be at an ACC school to understand the edification. The edification of how
Webster
the edification
doesn't
of
have
how
that.
Seth and I have this this ability to be our mind not equivalent to yours. How's that? I use it in a sentence.
It describes.
I can use it in a sentence. Can I use it in a sentence?
Yeah.
Casey Stern does not know what edifying means.
No. I even changed it from edify to edification.
But you are edifying.
Pain and bad circulation in your legs and feet affecting your life